Good morning, Judge.
Morning, Ingram. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Just finished another interview. I'm sure you've seen it, the one with Melissa Odessa.
I have seen it. I was impressed again at the range of questions and especially the aspects about just humanizing aspects, not always talking about just the nuts and bolts of boxing, but talking about things outside of that, but related still to it, like diets and everything else that we're focused on towards the end.
The thing is for me, Judge, I was always told when I started this out to make sure that whoever your guest is, you put them in their best light. So I do, every time I ask a question, it's always for them to show the best side of them, because it's a business and it's a hard business, but it's also a business where you've got to promote yourself as well. So it's not just me asking you questions like, well, if you can, how long you've been a fighter, we know you can throw punches, but what separates you from the rest? Why should we buy a ticket to watch you? Why should we follow your story? And I want the viewers to actually feel as if they're a part of their journey. So like when I've always told you, Judge, said to you about bringing the world closer to you. When you do the interview, you feel as if you were a part of that journey. So when they win a fight, you win a fight. When they lift the belt, you lift the belt. That connection between the fighter and the viewer, that's the sort of bond I want to build and create. And the guest is what makes them. It's down to the guest, really. I can only create the platform.
That's really happening from my point of view when I see the interviews and stuff, especially when the Keith Thurman interviews happen, for instance. It made him a person. Now, this is somebody who's like up on a pedestal in a lot of ways, but it made him a person who's speaking honestly. And tonight as well, that was the case with the interview tonight, asking about things like what's the best, what's your favorite boxing film? And the subject of $1 Million Baby came up. And for women's boxing, that was a great insight into what a female boxer looks like in that film, because it's so negative. It's basically almost like a hindrance to women going into boxing almost. So that's one aspect where just asking a question that was like sort of flippant or light-hearted, just what's your favorite boxing movie, led to an answer which was really important.
Absolutely.
Is women's boxing being taken seriously? Even in films that are meant to be grandiose and exploring it. So in that respect, I think that humanizing of the interviews on BWTM is definitely really important. I mean, it really is. It's, Terence Crawford as well. I mean, he's one of the guys who's like, he's seen in the boxing media as just almost like a genius and untouchable and everything else. And just to hear him speak on BWTM, it humanizes him. We get to hear who he is, and where the questions are, they're not just about the nuts and bolts of boxing. So we get to know the man.
I also, these interviews, when I do an interview, it's not about viewership and how many people are subscribed. For me, it's about understanding the psyche of a fighter, because I think a lot of this sport is mental. Yes, it's physical, throwing the punches and stuff, but the mental aspect of it. And you can actually, like when you listen to Melissa talking, and she's talking about putting punches together and sidestepping and lateral movement. And it's not just caveman or cavewoman just throwing punches randomly. There's setting up punches, setting up shots, moving, defense, attack, slipping punches, setting things up. That's beautiful. When we talked about the sweet science of the sport, that's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear, well, I just went out there and threw some punches, and I don't want to hear that. I'm interested in that science, what makes boxing great,
Absolutely. And this is the other aspect of it as well. A lot of media outlets I've seen it in America, in NASCAR, they will interview the drivers in NASCAR, and when it comes to Danica Patrick, the only woman on the grid, say it's Valentine's Day, okay? They'll talk to all the guys and say, what's your strategy for the race? How are you going to do that for the race? When it's Danica Patrick coming on, they'll say, did your boyfriend or husband get you flowers? Do you like Valentine's Day? This kind of thing. Whereas what you're doing is like treating the sportsman or sportswoman or sportsperson like an actual athlete, how they should be treated with full respect. And also what that gives you is you're getting the way women's boxing is growing, it's getting much more technical, it's getting better to watch, better to study. I mean, there's some great trainers working now also with female boxers and stuff.
Yes.
But the thing that BWTM is doing is it's treating people with respect regardless of sex and everything. And that's not happening everywhere in sport. It really isn't.
I remember talking to Jessica McCaskill after she lost to Katie Taylor in a fight that was arguable. And I said to myself, you know what? That girl's going to go on to be a world champion. There's no doubt in my mind Jessica McCaskill will become a world champion. People after me and, she ain't going nowhere. Look at her now, undisputed. You can see the fire in a fighter's eye. You can, in the way they talk, the way they work at things. And that defeat hurt her so much, she bounced back from that. That's why I knew she'd become world champion. And that's why I knew she'd beat Cecilia Breakers, because she wanted it more. I thought she'd be able to beat Cecilia Breakers because I know that she would up her game and she would hustle Cecilia Breakers. And I thought Cecilia Breakers was a fighter that basically had everything her own way. She was queen, top of the mountain, and she was always in control of everything that was going on. And I felt that Jessica McCaskill wouldn't care about that, even though McCaskill was moving up in weight. I thought that Breakers would have thought that she was the smaller girl. Breakers is the bigger girl. She's physically stronger. I'll bully her, and she got out bullied. The bully got out bullied, and it was a beautiful thing to see. Even the approach when Cecilia walked into the ring like a queen. She walked in there and graced the rings like, I'm here. I've arrived. Nobody can touch me. I'm unstoppable. Almost like an arrogance there. I am Cecilia Breakers. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? Well. Yeah, tonight you're going to get it. And you saw what happened in the end.
That's the other thing as well. Even in an interview with any boxer, male or female, that sometimes some of the really great high-profile guys can seem sort of like they're not really focused or they're too relaxed. When you hear the passion that I heard tonight with their interview, and you hear that, the women speaking with such passion about the sport that they want to get in there, they want to fight, they want to just entertain people as well. They're not only wanting to fight, they're wanting to entertain the crowd as well. That makes me as a fan of boxing want to see them. And this is almost like, it's almost surplus in the women's game, and it's becoming less popular in the men's game. Some of the guys are sort of too laid back, I think, whereas the women are so passionate, so driven for the game. And I've heard this as well from your interviews with boxing trainers training women. They've got like a student who's like a sponge, and it's just so happy to soak in as much as they can learn. And it's such a shame that some of the guys aren't doing that as well. But women's boxing, it's improving for a reason.
This conversation is triggering a conversation I had with Tyson Fury. It was the first interview I did with him, and he was talking quiet at first. And then suddenly just kicked it up a gear in the conversation. Oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And he sounded almost like a WWE wrestler. And I thought, I got you. You're tongue-in-cheek. You're tongue-in-cheek. And he kind of giggled over the phone as to say, yeah, you got me. But he couldn't say that. Because he went on with his rant, and he was talking about he was going to do this to Cain Velasquez. He was going to do this. He was going to do that. He was going to do this. But he really backed himself. And I thought to myself, this guy backs himself. And he truly believes himself. He can go and become a world champion. And when I knew he was going to fight Klitschko, I thought, I know this guy's psyche. I know that this guy's going to mess Klitschko's head up. Because Klitschko was the master of getting into people's minds. But Klitschko had to control everything. But Tyson Fury was a complete disaster for him because Fury did everything to disrupt Klitschko, from doing the Batman and Robin double act there with him and his cousin Huey. That messed up Klitschko's head. What the hell's going on here? It wasn't the everyone sits down, Klitschko talks, you talk, Klitschko talks, Klitschko stands up, looks at you, looks you in the eye. Everything's done in that sort of like systematic, robotic way. And Tyson Fury said, screw all that. I'll talk when I want to talk. I'll do what I like. And he didn't like it. And David Haye was kind of like that. He was kind of like that. But ultimately, David didn't have the attributes to finish the job off. that Tyson Fury did.
Yeah, I mean, talking about, you know, the wrestling aspects, like you said about Tyson Fury talking like somebody from the WWE.
Yeah. Well, look where he ended up. Look where he ended up. He ended up in the WWE. So it's almost predestined.
Yeah.
That thing with the WWE. I wasn't surprised. So when I saw him going to WWE, I said, "Yeah, nice one, Tyson. This is what I expected you to go." It's expected because when you see people do interviews, but they don't really. They do the interview for today and then forget about it. But for me, I do an interview and I'm like following a person's spirit. I'm following their mindset. I'm really interested in that person, really interested in them. So I'll go away, I'll think about the interview. And then if something happens later in their career, I can go back and say, well, in the interviews, they did this. And if I've got 2, 3, 4 interviews with them, I can go, right, I've been up close and personal with this person. What are they like and how are they likely to react to this situation or that situation? And people will sit down and laugh and say, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about, or blah, 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 blah. Because they haven't taken the time to listen to the interview and really be one-on-one with a person. And more to the point, they just think that you do your interview and you're gone. They don't know about the conversation you have behind closed doors. They have no idea of the things that fighter.
Yeah, that's a very fascinating point to me and everybody else, anybody out there, because you'll sometimes see a celebrity reacting to a camera, you don't know what's being said to them.
Yeah.
But they vilify them on what's been said. So we don't know what happens outside of it. Also, going back to the wrestling aspect of it.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali's, he, at some point, I can't remember well enough, I should know this, but I don't remember well enough. He looked at the amount of people in the wrestling crowd for the wrestler Gorgeous George.
Yes.
This big white guy with ridiculous bleached blonde hair and stuff like that. And he was the guy who Muhammad Ali learned from that. Wow, he's selling out this arena and it's basically completely fake. And I'm putting my life on the line and I'm not selling out the arena. And he basically learned that sort of jargon and everything. He learned to basically use similar words and similar smack talk, what we call nowadays, in a different way from Gorgeous George and stuff. And then we have, like, leading into, like you speak about with Tyson Fury joining the WWE as it is now. But before that, Mike Tyson in there as well.
Yeah, of course.
The two things are covering over and stuff. And the interesting thing about the Klitschko fight, moving up to that with Tyson Fury, is without getting too heavy on this, because I know it's a controversial subject, but I do remember that the Klitschko camp were very, very concerned with the gloves that Tyson Fury was going to have for that fight. And Tyson Fury was not happy with those gloves. And in hindsight, it makes me wonder. I won't say any more than that because I don't want to get off subject. But you know,
gloves,
it really does make me wonder. Yeah, I don't want to get into the conspiracy theory stuff, but it makes me wonder whether that was knowledge from previous fights that they'd done their homework.
Maybe so. You know, I will bring it up. I mean, I found it a very toxic conversation, to be honest. To be fair, you know, it fascinates me that people think that it's this always arrogance that people believe that you have to believe what they believe, and if you don't believe what they believe, then you're an idiot or this or that. You know, like social media. I tell you, if you really took on half the comments that these people say, you'd lose your mind. I've seen so many good people in social media, really quality people across social media over the years, just fall apart because of what people say on social media, the foul things that come out their mouth. But I have an expression for this, and it's like this: where does trash belong? In a trash can. So I have a system now that it just catches all the trash and it goes directly to the trash can. So trash belongs in a rubbish bin, and that's what it is. I don't celebrate it. I don't recognize it. They don't care for me, and I don't know who they are. So, for me, honest, it's a two-way agreement. You don't care for me, and I'm not interested in what you have to say. So, that's it. I mean, everyone's entitled to opinion.
Yeah, so you get sometimes people. I mean, Deontay Wilder's a good example. Everybody who speaks about Deontay Wilder speaks like a boxing expert. Now, a lot of them are football fans and all sorts of other fans, but they've heard something. They've heard somebody speak about windmilling, and they read a tiny little bit about it, and then they watch one example, maybe a looped video on YouTube or any other social media, and they automatically become Emmanuel Stewart, and they criticize no post on. I've seen the posts on Deontay Wilder's Instagram in the past. Just terrifically stupid, you know.
Listen,
and this is a man who's like defended the world title how many times? And he's again and again and again. And every time, similar to Rocky Marciano in a way, every time they said, oh, he's not going to get past this guy, this guy will take him, or this guy will take him over this side. And it didn't happen.
Listen.
And even the strange first fight with Tyson Fury.
Judge. Judge.
Yes.
You know, I really don't care. And I'll tell you why. If boxing was the only thing I had in my life, I probably would care. Or I probably wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't if boxing was that much to me in that sense. You know, it means more to me building a network. It means more to me being able to help. Like, as you know, recently we've launched another show called Grenada Matters, and that is doing stuff across the island of Grenada. We had a young African man that was in prison for over 1,000 days.
That was an incredible feat, yeah.
And he was in prison because he came to the island seeking refuge and seeking asylum. He came and he registered himself in the right manner. He did the right things, did the correct things, did the legal things. He got thrown in jail for it, and he was left to rot in that jail cell. So, then Herrica Willis, who was the attorney at law at the time, got involved, and BWTM got involved because we heard the story, we heard what was going on, it was not on, and we started helping with the campaign. We did a campaign video, we got people petitioning, and now on the 31st of December 2020, that young man was released. So
that was one of the most amazing things.
That's just one of many situations that people don't know about with BWTM online.
Exactly. That petition was essentially pushed by BWTM. I myself was one of the people who signed it, and obviously thousands of however many other people did as well. But that is one of the successes that's more important for anything else.
Of course it is.
Lives,
So whether Tyson Fury had dodgy gloves or he didn't have dodgy gloves, I couldn't care a lick, because Tyson Fury ain't paying me. I don't work for Wilder's team, so I don't care either way. But it seems that people think I sit down all day long and I sit by my computer and that's all I've got to think about. And there's so many other things. Building a network, as you've seen, we've gone from strength to strength, from the website to the mobile phone.
Yeah. There's been growth this year on social media from the BWTM family of channels that's just been exponential. I mean, onto TV, Apple TV, and onto basically Android versions of TV.
I mean,
Amazon and everything.
And then the new TV shows we've got. The law show we've got the talk
Patricia
show we've got
as well.
Grenada Patricia Talks, Grenada Matters. What else have we got? The other shows we've got.
You've even had videos of young artists like poets and things coming out.
Of course,
it's a whole variation.
It's great. So there's so many things happening. We're still going to have as well. We're going to have a martial arts show, a live martial arts show. Wow. And we're going to be having a business show as well. So people learn how to use their money more wisely, more effectively. So Inspire, people always say to me, oh, it's Inspire. Exactly. And Inspire means from outside in. This is the BWTM universe, right? And what I mean by universe is, when you've got a universe, you determine what happens in that universe. People think that somehow or what we do in our universe must be in line with what's going on out there. No, it's not about that. This is our universe. We've built it this way, and this is the way we want to do it. If we decide to use Inspire, we decide to use Inspire in our universe. If they don't like it, that's their business. But ultimately, I'm here to help those that A, want to help themselves, and B, just be able to fulfill a dream, which is to be able to continue to help the underdog. That's what I've always done. So
exactly, it's a much better model, business model, or not business model, but a media model, because the mainstream media is essentially enslaved by whoever is the highest paying advertiser. Now, whichever corporation or group of corporations or conglomerate that is their essentially, that defines what product they push out. What you're doing is nothing to do with anybody putting anything in. It's giving a voice and making a movement happen, you know?
Well,
and then the same, you know, that's what's happening.
If I'm a tool for doing those things, then power to them. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm doing what I'm going to do, and you can't have everybody that likes you, and I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, I know the people that care, and that's all that matters. Of course, you want to be liked by everybody, but that's just not going to happen.
If you're doing the right thing, and I've never heard any argument put forward on any branch of BWTM that has not been justified by facts. I've never heard it, and examples as well. So, for instance, a certain fighter or a certain situation in a political sense is exemplified, and an opinion is given, and then to justify that opinion, an example is given. Now, we don't see that in mainstream media. In mainstream media, we'll often say we should be appalled at somebody's behavior before we even read the headline. Such and such, appalling.
Because you more and more and less. If you ask a person how many thoughts are your own, see, what's the difference between an idea and a belief? Okay, an idea is something that you may think about, but you may not actually have gone out and done. A belief is something you've actually experienced. See, lots of ideas, our mind are filled by lots of other people's ideas. You know, example, I've decided to go to Australia, to fly to Australia and move to Australia, for example. And I'll have a conversation with them. They say, where are you going to move to? Oh, I'm moving to Australia. Oh, you know, it's really bad out there. Did you hear about the kangaroos fighting? Did you hear the kangaroos the other day? One kangaroo killed a guy. Right. Okay. So what's that got to do with me? I'm not going to be kangaroo fighting. Yeah, but there's always the possibility. There's always the possibility. But the likelihood of me fighting with kangaroos is very, unless I myself have got myself in a position where I've met a kangaroo and I'm fighting for my life. Other than that, there should be no reason why me and kangaroo in the same room together, in the same area together, in the same street together. Do you understand?
Yeah, it's just insane. Everybody's an expert on everything.
Yeah, and then I say to him, all right, okay. I said to him, wait, hold on. Have you been to Australia before? No, mate. I said, wait. So where'd you get the information? I saw it on YouTube, mate. I said, right, great. So that's what I call an idea, because you've not done it. You've not experienced it. And you've got all these people who've got all these ideas. Imagine living your whole life based on somebody else's ideas and not your own belief system. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I cannot for the life of me understand it.
The worry for me is that, especially with people who have any success, that their success is almost derailed by the people vilifying them underneath. Because we have a situation at the moment where Disney have finally, after loads of failed Star Wars films, they've had a successful series in The Mandalorian. Now, the Star Wars films weren't financial failures, but they weren't the successes that they expected. Now we've had the Mandalorian series, and one of their stars is a little bit outspoken, Gina Carano. And Gina Carano, the ex-fighter, I think UFC, or I'm not really up on that stuff.
Gina Carano, yes, I know, because of Carano sisters. Yeah.
So she in social media has posted her own views, public views, yes, but just privately shared her opinions on life. She is being vilified by these people, like we're talking about, just posting at her out there, to the level that it's not known really whether Disney has dismissed her or not. So we have a situation here where she's not been featured in the latest artwork for the series. She's been whitewashed out. She's not on it. And the artist was asked, where's Gina Carano? Why is she on there, you know? Cara Dune, the character. Why is Cara Dune not on there? and the artist basically didn't answer. So that's a perfect example of the person in the public eye, where these people who may know nothing still affect them.
See, these people, I suspect, are very rich, have got a lot of money, and got nothing to do with their lives, and they just sit down picking opportunities for people to knock people off. That's what it is.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, you might be right. But I think we're in a society where everybody has a voice, but not everybody can speak. I mean, Frank Zappa said years ago about rock music journalism. He said, most music journalism is people who can't write, interviewing people who can't speak, for people who can't read, you know? And he was trying to show the fact that it was ludicrous. It did not make any sense at all. And I think online social media is sort of getting to that point now. Yeah. It's getting crazy.
Yeah.
I really do think that. And thankfully, BWTM, what's happening in this movement is that people are being given a voice who can speak and who need to speak and who the world needs to listen to. And that's what, for me, that's why I'm passionate about what you do.
Do you know what encourages me? I usually have to go back and I listen to, when Muhammad Ali's brother decides to call you and say, do an interview with me. I want to tell the truth about what happened between me and my brother. Or I go for my phone book and I'm able to sit down and talk to the former manager of Destiny's Child and be talked about in his book. I look at moments like that and I think to myself, look how blessed I am to be able to talk to people like that. And I just feel so fortunate to be able to talk to people like that. People I've watched on TV as a child, being able to stand right next to them and be able to ask them any question I want, and them to look at them and smile and talk with them, or to share a drink with them. People that are well-known public figures, they wouldn't know that you've gone out with a drink with them, and it's just you're sitting there and you're talking to them, but you're pinching yourself saying, this is surreal. I can't believe I'm talking to this person.
I was just going to ask you, actually, is there ever a time when you climb up or something and you can't speak? I mean, what is that like?
I think only once that happened, but that was more the case of circumstances and who I was with at the time, rather than climbing up. I had to watch what I was saying and my body language as opposed to actually climbing up, because it's I tell you, one of the most when they talk about auras, right? They talk, this person's got an aura about them. It was the director of Bell. I've never seen a woman in my life walk in a room so gracefully, stand so royally, and it's not an act. It was natural. People who will fake it. Natural. And she just stood there so gracefully, and everyone was doing these interviews. And when I remember doing the interview with her, and that was the one time, I didn't say I clammed up, but my record button, the voice was, the music, it was on mute.
Oh, wow. Shit.
I got pictures of it, but I was like, she's a director, female director. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was there and I was like to ask, how do you do it? Obviously, I couldn't ask the question because I had like 2 minutes to talk to her. So I had to talk about the movie and how she became a director and her journey. But just her whole aura was incredible. If you could have put a halo around her body, it was just, I haven't seen anything like that. I mean, I've seen some people in my time, but there was just something about her aura.
Some people have that about them. I think it was the Japanese actor Toshihiro Mifune.
Yes.
Who, when he stepped in a room, nothing would be heard or anything, but just by chance, everybody would look across. There was some presence that this man had.
Yeah.
And some people have that, and I don't know what it is, But you've obviously witnessed that in this person. It's magnetic.
Another situation that I'm always grateful for with Bermain Stavern. And people say, oh, what do you always have Bermain Stavern for? Because it's not just about the fighter, it's about the man. You know, I remember
and the journey.
The journey. When he came to London, every night, I swear I was in his hotel room with him. Without trying to sound erotic or something, I was in his room every night. Because that could come across the wrong way, you know, and I think he'd appreciate either. But I was in his bed, I was in his all night, and I'd be leaving his hotel room like 1 o'clock. I was like Desiree Washington, kind of leaving that time in the morning, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And somebody said, "What were you doing in Bermain Stavern room at that time in the morning?" Or it's casting. Well, look, at this time, you know, we'll sit down watching it, like stuff he was doing in Haiti on his video. Like recording, like he talked about how he, you know, his the stuff he does in Haiti is his country, and he gives back the gym and working with the fighters and all the gloves that were there, and you know, all these young kids going up, and he's holding the pads and they're hitting the bag, and I think that's amazing. That is incredible. You know, you grow up. You take on a journey to become a boxer. You become an amateur star. You go on. You become world heavyweight champion, the first world heavyweight champion that Haiti's ever had. You go back to your country and you give back to your people. That is hugely amazing. And to sit in a room with somebody like that, again, and you're sitting and going, I'm sitting with this guy. And I'm truly humbled and just people just don't get it. And then, you know, the battles I had to do just to get into the arena that night and getting into the arena.
That's the other aspect. I was going to ask you about that, because not only have you had this, you know, a connection of souls really that you had with him, or you have with him. This guy who has been heavyweight world champion, he's been absolutely to the top of the sport, of all the weights in the sport. And he's got the journey, and he's the first countryman from his country that's managed to do that for his people. Not only that, but you have walked into something we may never see again. We don't know right now. You've walked into an arena full of people on fight night alongside him.
Into arena. This was on TV. It was also on Showtime. So you know when the fighter gets out the car and they walk into the arena, I was doing like walk with him. It was surreal. It was like watching myself. I was like, what is going on here? This can't be real. You know, and then you're watching on the screen inside the dressing room. Next up, Bermain Stavern, top of the bill with Joe Joyce. And you're sitting in the arena, you're sitting there with the guy as he's putting all his clothes on, and you seen him doing the warm-up, you've seen everything. Next 10 minutes, next minute, all you'll see is like his hair, and then you're walking literally behind him as he's walking to the ring.
A lot of boxing fans.
And I'm like to myself, this is amazing. Or going into a fighters meeting and sitting down and seeing Ranello, Brian Custer, and what's the other guy's name? Ranello, Brian Custer, and Al Bernstein, and them all knowing who you are. They've all seen them saying, "Hi, Ingram." They know who you are. So you're seeing that your work is translating globally. You know,
there must only be an elite group of people on the planet ever that get to experience that, and that's why that is. And
you're sitting down and you're watching all this stuff. Is just amazing, absolutely amazing. And I'm just so grateful, and I'm grateful to Carl King, you know, and Stavern and Don King for an opportunity I probably wouldn't have had if I had to rely on the British. The guys that hold the keys to British media, if I had to wait on them, I never would have got the opportunity. So I'm thankful to Stavern and the team for that, and I'll always be thankful for that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and
I love one of the things. Sorry, go on, Ingram.
Go, you saying, Judge.
No, it's one of the things that it's very difficult to see that happening it seems to be a very closed culture with British boxing. So we have, for some reason, even though we have many great ex-heavyweight boxers, we have Steve Bunce doing a lot of work on TV and stuff, and I don't understand that. And this is another big subject entirely, but that particular ring walk is a once in a lifetime thing.
It is a once in a lifetime thing.
It speaks a lot about those people that you mentioned that happened, because these are people with integrity and loyalty.
They would never open those people would never open a door for me, and that's fine. And like, there's another thing that I just can't understand. I'm not interested in turning up to press conferences. People from the outside who don't understand how a press conference works and the frustration with a press conference. Why do I want to go to a press conference to stand up in a queue of people? To by the time you get to ask your question, that fighter's answered that question 100 times already. So they're frustrated. Why do I want to do that? Why do I want to do to a press conference and have somebody stand beside me and say, you've only got 2 minutes? Why do I want to do that? Yes, it gives coverage, but I'm tired. That's not what I don't think I'm strong at that. Yes, I might be strong at going and getting the answers, but I'm not interested in clicks, right? So I made a conscious decision myself, and BWTM Online, at this point in time, not interested in going to press conferences. Not interested. Why do I want to go to a press conference when I can go to the fighter's gym? Why do I want to go to a press conference when I can invite them into my studio? Why would I do that? So some fighters now, somebody made some stupid comments to say, oh, the reason why you're bitter towards this fighter now is because you've not done interviews with him. No, Dodo, I don't want to go to press conferences. See, if I don't go to press conferences and I don't sell myself out, because that's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to go to a press conference and sell myself out or be part of a clique. They don't get it. And they won't get it because they haven't picked up a camera. They haven't gone to a press conference and had to go with the frustrations that go with that. I don't need to do that because that's not that's not what I want to do. I don't have a long-term goal to be running around with a camera all day long doing boxing interviews. I did that. I've been there, I've seen it, I've done it. I don't need to do that no more. I did that. Do you understand? I did it. My first day in boxing was working for Fight Hype. Did you know that, Judge?
I didn't know that. No, wow.
Fight Hype was my first day I worked with Fight Hype in the UK. Wow. And do you know what fight I was covering?
I don't.
Hay versus Chisora. And the first day I walked in, I had my camera that was given to me by a young man by the name of Apollo James Jackson. He gave me a faulty camera. But when I walked in the room, to do the interview, I remember being at a certain gym. I walked in the gym, and people came up to me and said to me, "You're that dude off YouTube. Yeah, I've seen your work on YouTube. Wow. Yeah, I've seen your commentary on YouTube. Yeah, I've seen this. Yeah, I've seen that." I'm like, and my mind's not focused on that. My mind is going and talking to the fighters
on the job. Exactly,
yeah. Joe, I remember talking to Joe Hanks because he was over sparring Chisora at the time. And it was it's not easy when you're seeking interviews with difficult characters. No names being mentioned, but it's difficult when you're trying to get interviews with difficult characters. You know what I mean, bro? And I loved it. I loved the challenge at the time, but I would rather now spend my time, no disrespect to boxers or boxing trainers. There are other people I'll reach out and talk to now that I don't feel as if I have to, they're out there and I have to literally go out and grab them. So you kind of like, well, the people I've built time with and spent time with, I talk with. And some situations have happened. It's just been circumstantial. I mean, people forget I spent, almost 3 years in the Caribbean, 3 years in Ireland, and I've only just come back into England for 2 years. And all that bouncing around and then spending some time in America and being in Australia. So I've done a lot of world travel. Do you understand? And lived in different places. So
exactly, they don't know your story.
So they automatically assume, well, he's bitter. That's why he's not getting interviews. Really? Yeah. Really? When I think of the catalogue of interviews and the people I've spoken to over the years, I think
this brings us back to the point that you said about some people coming on and saying, "Oh, you just don't like Tyson Fury, you're racist, or you're just pro, whatever it is." These people, whoever's saying that, have not looked at the years and years and years of gems on BWTM.
And for those, those imbeciles, idiots, those people who play the race card, who blatantly are racist, right? They're blatantly racist. Oh, you don't like white fighters. Sure, great. There was a point in time on my channel, there was nothing but white fighters on my channel. Nothing but white fighters on my channel. What are you talking about?
No racism. There's absolutely zero racism on the entire channel. It's not an aspect of the channel.
But
there was some psychological thing written that said that you can learn most of what your enemy fears about you by the ways he tries to attack you.
Yeah, exactly.
So when these people say you're racist, they're showing you that
they exactly have racial issues. And, you know, it's like when people try and put me in a box, and then they use their low level of intellect to then turn around and say, well, that's what I'm thinking. No, you don't know me that way. You don't know me. I do boxing interviews, I'll do boxing shows, and I'll talk about certain issues. But there is a lack of education in some of these people that are speaking. Surely, a lack of education.
There really is.
Do they understand the history? My history is not your history. My history as a black man is very different to your history as a white man. Do you understand? It's different. These are the facts. It's not
exactly.
making up.
You and I are speaking now from two different races, and we're
absolutely
speaking now about this.
You are the judge. You're the judge, yeah? And you're a white man.
But one of the things that happens in...
Let me repeat that. You're a white man. Can I say that again?
Yeah. I'm a white guy, yeah.
There you go.
I find nothing, absolutely nothing, racist about the channel at all. I never have, I never will, because race is not part of the channel. Boxing is part of the channel. Humanity is part of the channel.
Okay. You know what?
Everything.
Brother, I will say this. I am a racist. Do you know what I mean by a racist? It means I love my color. Racist.
Yeah.
I have a love for myself and my color. Why not?
What is life apart from variety? God loves variety, you know? It's like, from one part of it, if I say it this way, I understand that you're not racist and everything, but I also understand that you understand racial inequality.
Of course.
To black people,
Of
obviously.
course.
And I understand privilege from my point of view. I can go to any hairdresser in the United Kingdom, apart from lockdown, obviously. I can expect to get my hair cut. A black person can't necessarily have that, because some hairdressers in England, they can walk in, they won't be able to do the black hairstyle.
My aunt was on TV not too long ago, about a month or two ago. She was on BBC, and she was talking about Afro hair and whether it would be compulsory for hairdressers, people in colleges who were studying hairdressing, whether they should do Afro hair. And she said it should be compulsory. Absolutely. It's hair.
Yeah.
And they're debating whether it should be compulsory. What? What?
I mean, it's like, I don't understand it at all, but it's something that I wasn't aware of because of privilege. It's something that I, as a white guy, wasn't aware of until I learned and was educated. And this is the key thing. A lot of, not necessarily racist, but some racists are on, you can't save them. They're racist on purpose or whatever. They have some kind of issue.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is that we need to basically bring people together.
Of course.
And, this is one aspect of it that a lot of white people had never thought about that angle of it. And this is a tiny subject. It's one subject that I'd never thought about.
I tell you, here's another thing. If people are so stupid, like when I've been coaching, 95% of the clubs I've done my coaching in, I've been the only black guy.
Oh, wow.
I go to places like Buckinghamshire, or I go to Berkshire, or I go to, God, in the back of these villages in Surrey, these people have got £1 million houses and and you're the only black guy there.
What was your actual treatment like in these places? I mean, overall. Did you notice any kind of?
I tell you what it is. I think I felt what it is now. You see, people can have a high opinion of themselves and what they believe. And people have got egos, and they don't like egos being dented or bruised. So when you are a person that's confident in what you do, and you're confident in what you do because you've done it before and again and again and again, you roll up with your CV, you apply for your job. They say to you, well, what can you do? Say, this is what I can do. This is what I've done. This is my track record. This is what I've done. And they think you're all Mr. Given to the large. Then you open up your portfolio. Trophy. trophy, 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 trophy. And then they just slammed the book down. They go, oh, all right, mate, all right. You're a bit of a large one, ain't you? I said, well, no, this is what you want to see. I'm doing this is what you want to see. So, all right, let's see what you can do. I said, listen to me. This is what I want from the team. This is what I'm asking for. This is what I'll need. I'll make you champions. And then you go about doing what you do. You set about it. It takes you a while to get building with the players. The players start to like you more than the people that are around at the club because you're bringing a fresh air. You're bringing different new things. You're bringing different ideas. So that it's different. You start ruffling people's feathers because, hold on a second, this guy's getting more attention than me. This guy is doing these. This guy's name's getting out. Oh, they're winning games. Wait, you're starting to upset history. Because you're now going to this club now, and the club for 50 years is the club that's been the whooping boys. Oh, we don't get beat by this club. Then you're beating the top team, and people look at you and go, wait, he said he was going to come here and do this. He's done it. I said you'd beat the top. And when you're going and beating teams, which I've got every single player there is playing for the county, and none of your players are playing for the county, and you say at the end of the year, at least 4 or 5 players will end up playing for the county at the end of the season. Yeah. They look at you like you're kind of crazy. And then when they see that they're the top players of our side who are performing week in, week out, and now representing at county level, have I not proved my point?
Exactly.
And if you walk around the ground like confidently, like, yeah, I am the man because this is what I produce. Why should I walk around? So what you would want me to walk down my head on the ground and be looking at the grass every time we win a match? No, I'm going to stand up and say yes, because the young people are looking at that. You're their role model, so you have to set up a certain. It's almost every time you go out, you're on a stage. And I love it. I love going out and competing and seeing these young people compete. And, maybe a young person not getting it right at first. And the times where we're training and that young person may break down and say, Coach, I don't get it. I don't understand. Yeah. They're coming in, they're not feeling right. And you're working with those difficult moments. And stick with it, stick with it, stick with it. And then they get out in the field and then it clicks for them. And the ball's flying to all parts, or they're taking wickets, so they're celebrating. The team are jumping together. It's all coming together.
You're talking about the joy and the passion. That absolute skill of the sport. And I'm just wondering whether some of the higher up people are thinking more about, shit, this guy's going to take my job.
That's it. With this uncomfortability. It's an uncomfortability. Yeah. And then the institutional racism kicks in. Oh, now it kicks in. Oh, yeah, a black guy. It's a black guy. It's a black guy. Yeah. So then they've got that inner battle going on now. We are doing well. My son's doing well, but he's black. That starts happening. It literally starts happening in some of these people. Yeah. Not everybody, but it happens.
No,
and the whispers start happening around the club. Because
it needs to be spoken about, though. Because
what do you want? I've come in.
Sorry, go on.
I've come in. I've turned your youth development around. I've set up. I'm bringing more money into your club by setting the systems up in place. Your players are playing county cricket. Your players enjoy me coaching them. The parents are raving about me. But you've got a couple of old heads that don't like it.
And the only criticism is the race,
But that's what it is. But they can't say it.
Positive.
They can't say it. They can't come out and say it. Because the British stiff upper lip and all that nonsense. I can't say it, but I know what they're about. You know it. You're sitting around at a dinner table. They're all sitting around a dinner table, and you can feel the tension in the room when they're looking across at you and they're giving that look, and you're like, look, and they smile at you, and you're like, why are you smiling at me? Have I said something funny? That smile. I got to smile to make you, to tolerate you. There's a toleration smile,
You can sense the fakeness in
things. Yeah. You feel it.
Anybody can feel that.
And I feel you're making me feel like an alien. Well, you should be celebrating me. Yeah. I've sent 4 or 5 young players have come through. None of those young people that came to me and wanted to be county players failed. They all became county players.
Wow.
All of them became county players. So 4 or 5 I worked with one-to-one basis, they all become county players.
That's amazing.
So you tell me. You tell me. I mean,
the answer is, if you manage to do that, I mean, that tells you a lot about your ability to teach the craft. It's just that it wasn't about teaching the craft. You just weren't the right complexion.
It just made me realize about ownership.
Yeah.
Ownership, and it's made me realize that if I'm going to be comfortable in my own skin, I have to be in my own place. I have to be in my own space. I can no longer be in a place where I'm not welcomed, or I'm being if I'm not welcome, I'm not being tolerated. It's
like an impossible obstacle. You know, there's nothing.
It's there. It's there.
You performed at the absolute elite level there. You got everybody through. What more can you do? You can't do any more. You're still not.
And here's another thing within cricket, which is absolutely downright like a blockage. Right? So I should be a level 3, at least a level 3 coach. Why am I not a level 3 coach? Well, because I have to get somebody to sign off at the county that I can go do my level 3. So unless I get that signature, I can't get a level 3. I can't go to a level 3. Nothing to do with my ability. Nothing to do with my ability. But I can't get it because of politics. I've heard nonsense. If I go to college, I can go to university. I have to wait for somebody to sign off. I do the exam. I pass to get my grades. I go to the next stage. In cricket, it's not like that. I have to go through somebody who, if they feel like it, they can sign me off. If they don't feel like it, they don't sign me off. If my face fits the bill, and my face don't fit the bill, as you've gathered, my face doesn't fit the bill. Do you understand?
And obviously, the issue with that is that people who aren't any good can get passed on if they just know the person and they just,
watch this.
They happen to be the right tone.
Watch this, Judge. Like, 2010, 2011, national community champion, right?
Yeah.
I got people like the captain of the West Indies to nominate me for the work I was doing in the community.
Wow.
5 different academies I'd set up across the southeast. 5 different cricket academies I'd set up, setting opportunity for young people to be able to play cricket who wouldn't normally be able to play it because of the expenses to bats, the helmets. A cricket bat alone can cost you 56. A good quality cricket bat, you're looking at £150. And looking at a helmet as well, that's going to cost you 25, 30 pounds. Your jock strap, your pads that cost you 20, 25 pounds. Your studs for your shoes are going to be another 30, 35 pounds. Your arm guard, if you're going to get an arm guard, then you've got to pay fees to go and play cricket. Then you've got to travel to different locations and play cricket. It's expensive. It's expensive. Do you understand? And you're creating opportunities. You're giving opportunities, opening opportunities for young people to play the sport. And a lot of these development officers, they make it easy for themselves. What they do, they go to the rich clubs, and they sit in the rich clubs. And they go, oh, yeah, we're doing very well here. We're putting 12 people through that are very good players. And these things that people that call themselves managers, for example. You're a coach. You've got 12 great players that have been picked from across the county. And then you just have to manage. You're a coach. Well, what makes you a coach? Oh, I got my level 3. Okay, yeah. But what have you done? Have you worked for a player from scratch and put them through the system? No. You take the best players, and then you put them on a team together, and then you put yourself and you stand in a photograph and smile and say, I'm a coach. Really?
That's really fascinating.
Grassroots.
Because,
it sickens me. So the sport, it still remains. Look,
I'm wondering, after what you've said, where you would be if that situation weren't the same, if that actual qualification as a coach could have come from merit rather than some guy that
it's garbage. It's garbage. Here's another thing. Now, 2010, 2011, I won I was nominated for a National Community Champions Award. I won the award in 2011. I came 3rd to a lady that was working with somebody with cerebral palsy, and I think the other one was multiple sclerosis or something like that. So I came 3rd. In terms of cricket for sport and the work in the community, right? I came 3rd, but also a champion in my own field in sport. Do you know that Lords never even acknowledged it? That was seen by 8.5 million people.
Wow.
Even Russell Grant. Do you remember Russell Grant, the astrologer?
I do, yeah.
Well, he saw the work I was doing. He even put money to the work I was doing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. 10 years on, I have no word of lie. I remember being at a club and a young guy, 17 years old, and I said this is one of the clubs I left at the end because of their lack of vision. I said to them, this 17-year-old, look at here, he's going to end up becoming your first team captain if you look after him, and he will take this club to another level. He laughed at me and said, the first team captain. Yeah, all right, mate. He walked into the clubhouse. I looked at him. I thought to myself, if that's the way you're going to look after your youth, and the average player at this club is 45, your youth system is going to fall apart. 10 years on, guess where that young person is now?
Exactly.
First team captain, and it's turning the club around, and more young people are coming, and they're top of the division now. The same thing again, another club, same situation. There's 2 clubs I've worked at that 10 years on, those young people are still there. What does that tell you? That's legacy I'm building.
That's legacy, but it also tells me that you've dealt with this kind of people not listening before. Okay, you've had experience of this in other sport, not just in boxing analysis and commentary, but you've witnessed it. You've not only encouraged, but you've also educated young people to come through sport somehow. And that's obviously not all about just cricket and the rules of cricket. That tells me that you've been able to educate them mentally about how to deal with situations, how to think straight. This is the same thing we see in the videos from BWTM, where you're analysing things and looking at things clinically. The detractors will just write and say, well, you're just racist against them, such and such. And there's no evidence for that. I
remember, this will always stick in my mind, when I went to Australia.
Yeah.
I remember talking to a head of cricket. I said, are there any opportunities for me? He went, no, we ain't got no opportunities for you a minute. I said, all right, fine. Well, if you won't give me opportunities, I'll create an opportunity. So I said, I'm going to Australia. His mouth dropped, shocked, bam.
Oh, wow.
So I went to Australia. I arrived in Australia. This is a true story. I arrived in Australia. In the air, 19 players left this cricket club. 19 players while I was in the air. Yeah, revolt. So when I landed in Australia, and I was greeted by my new family for the amount of time I was going to be there, I was told, I've got some news to tell you, coach. I said, what's that? Well, 19 of our players have left the club. Oh, okay. Well, then it's just time to rebuild, isn't it? So I remember Australia. Australia's amazing. It's an amazing place. They've got some not so amazing people, but they've got some amazing people too. Anyway,
I'm just stuck on the 19 people.
Well, so anyway, so they said the press are coming today. So I think it was the Sunday Star or something like that. It came. Yeah. They did a big piece on me, big, like middle pages of, this black guy from Afro-Caribbean guy with me with pictures.
Did they honestly say it that way?
Well, Afro-Caribbean, and at the time West Indies were getting their ass whooped, and of course, who am I from England? Australia thumped the English, and they're thumping the West Indies. We weren't the force no more in world cricket. So who the hell am I to come to Australia, the dominant team in world cricket at the time? Who are you to come over here to start teaching us about cricket? So you can imagine the challenges and the banter with that. And when it comes to banter, the Australians are fantastic for it. So I said, then I went on the radio show the following week. And the guys there goes, good day, Ingram. So good day, yeah. Tell us, 19 players have left the club, and you are relegation favourites, mate. So how you feeling? I said, relegation favourites. Who said that? He says, well, that's what we see in the table. You're relegation favourites. I said, oh, well, you said it. I didn't say it. You said that. I said, that's your belief system. That's not my belief system. I believe we can win this league. What experience do you bring in? 1 day title, 2 day title. You've never played in Australia before, blah, 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 blah. So what do you think? Never played 1 day cricket like the way they play in Australia, 2 day cricket, the weather, the different pitches. So many things are different. Like in England, we're very much ECB rules and safeguarding children and this and that. Australia, I'm out there. There's a guy out there playing cricket. He comes out to bat. He's a local legend. He comes out to bat, no shoes on, barefooted, playing against a cork ball. And every over he goes, he goes back to like where he's fielding, and he has a swig of brandy. Oh, he has a whiskey every over. So he's drinking. and he's playing cricket drunk. And like, could you imagine that happen in England? I mean, this is, you know, and he's coaching kids as well. I mean, this is, g'day, mate. I mean, like, he's a real Crocodile Dundee sort of character. And you're there thinking, well, hold on a second. I can't be actually telling him now to put his shoes on, put his kit on now, because if I did that I can't do that, because that's not. I'm not in England. I've got to do as I do in Australia. So I'm watching the psychology of this guy, and he's not only doing that, he's having fist fights with the opposition. He's taking the cricket bat. I want to whack people with cricket bats. He's a real Crocodile Dundee hard nut. So I thought, right, you know what? Let me just hold that to one side. So the first challenge was understanding 2-day cricket. So in England, usually, like the level I was playing cricket at, you bat for 40 overs, and then the other team will bat, and then you get your result on the same day.
Yeah.
In Australia, 2-day cricket, you'll bat one day, you'll bat on one like on a Saturday, and then you come back the next Saturday and you bowl. I'm like, that's weird. So imagine you go out and bat. I remember once, two occasions, right? I went out to bat and I opened the batting. Didn't want to for the experience. Yeah. And I remember the first ball I received. And like in cricket in England, like the slip, the people behind you, like the fielders behind you are closer. And the first thing I noticed, these guys, I couldn't even touch them. I couldn't even see them. They were so far back, I didn't get it. And then the first ball came flying through. It was like the ball was up near my throat. I'm like, what is this? And every other ball was up by your throat, up by your throat. So it was just the experience of all of that. And so there were some real challenges I had to overcome as a coach. Recruitment, bringing players in. So we brought players in. How are we going to bring players into the club? Lots of diversity. We had to put that in place, and like what they were eating, they were having like stuff like cakes for lunch. I'm like, guys, this is not good. We have to change our mentality. So I got a sponsorship deal with Subway. Okay, so I went into bat and I had my Subway bat. I had a Subway on my bat. So of course the opposition are laughing, jealousy now, because they have not got no sponsor from no one, right?
Yeah.
So I've come in my Subway bat, middle place, right? So I'm getting ready to bat. He says, mate, so is it a 6-inch you ordered, or is it a 1 foot? And then I turned and said to him, you heard them stories about a black man? The guy said, no.
That's the perfect.
And then again, I said, I tell you what, I've got itchy crutch at the moment, so you be careful, I might whip it out on you. So the Australians, a good crack they are. They good crack, and so they talk stuff. And I remember, because I got there and I wasn't going there to play cricket. I was going there to coach. So they wanted to play a coach. I wanted to coach. So situation came up. I got like 2 ducks and 10 runs. And the whispers were in the ground. They're like, well, who's this geezer? He's come over here, he can't bat and get it. So the whispers started coming round to me, like, who are you to coach us if you can't bat? I'm like, problem. Going to be here for 6 months. Going to have to get over this problem real quickly. So I think it must have been our 6th game in, right? We were still unbeaten at the time, 6th game in. And we were 3 or 4 wickets down real quickly. And I'd gone into bat. And all the talk was about, you're not batting and this and there, God is amazing. We sat there and we put on 350 runs. That was a record for the area, a record for the coach at club, and a record for the league. 350 runs, and won the league, the game as well with it. With me standing there batting, I must have got about 40 or 45, 46. The guy went and scored 150 or 160, something like that. It was incredible. And that day turned everything round. And the coaching was incredible. I mean, we were able to win the 1-day and the 2-day title. But unfortunately, again, we come back to this race thing. In Australia, they've got this politically correct thing. I respect them for the one sense because they speak their mind. But on the other sense, it was like, this guy was really, really close to. Like, he took me out for meals. We went bowling together. We did indoor cricket together. He was really close to me. And I remember being on the field and things were getting difficult. And he said to me, he called me, "Yo, water boy, come here." Now, I had come to the ground at the time. It was my day off work. I wasn't going to do any cricket. And I came to the ground and I said, I'd do a bit of umpiring. Right? I didn't like what was going on. They had some new guys that brought in, and you know, they were blatant racist. They brought in these guys were just, they couldn't see anything. They couldn't see beyond color. That was their problem, and I could see that. And they put on the board Ingram is a, and they put the N word up on the actual whiteboard.
This is you see, this is hard to even realize. This is like recent years that we're talking about here as well. And there was,
I know, there's a young man there, the only black. Well, he looked more like a New Zealander, like that sort of, like the Rock, Samoan. And
exactly, I know what you mean.
He'd get called things like water boy and slave boy, and then they asked me a question like, so what country, what language do you speak? I say English, and they go to me, "Well, in England, yeah, English." They said, "But you're black. How can you speak English if you're black?"
What the hell?
Oh, yeah. Those sort of conversations that you start having, that you know, even though you're having success, you're unbeaten, you're bringing sponsorship, you're bringing sponsorship to the club. Things are turning around yet again.
Well, that's the thing that I'm thinking. From your point of view, you must be thinking like, what do I have to do?
Well, when he said
everything is going through the roof, and yet I'm still being beset with this idiocy.
He said it to me in the middle of the field, right? It's like, "Water boy, come here." And he said it in the opposition there, and I thought, you know what? Enough. So I took the cricket ball, I took the bails, I gave my umpire's jacket, I gave him the bails, I gave him the ball, and I walked off the pitch. And I said to it, enough is enough. And I booked my ticket and I came back to England.
See, the thing though, Ingram, is that a lot of white people don't know that this stuff's still going on. I know it's ignorance, but we genuinely do not know that this stuff still goes on. Yeah, but we don't live it. You know what I mean?
That I guess my opinions were shaped because I worked at a private school in Australia. It's probably the best private school in Australia, and their systems in Australia are absolutely incredible. The young people don't finish till they're 19 years old school, right? So they finish school at 3:30, and then they go down to the ground. Now their grounds are probably the size of Wembley Stadium where they practice. Wow. That's how big their grounds are. They play cricket, rugby, football, tennis, or spread out this field the size of Wembley Stadium. I'm telling you, incredible.
Wow.
And that's every day. And on Saturdays and Sundays, they're obligated to play matches. If they want to stay at their school, they have to play matches. So they haven't got time to be rolling around on the streets, being waste boy or waste girl or waste man. They really have. They're just dedicated to what they do. And I think it's incredible system. And I worked during the day. I worked in the underprivileged areas. I worked during the day, and in the evening times, I'd go like until about midday, and then after that, I'd go over the hill. It's about half an hour drive over the hill and into the more affluent area of Melbourne. And incredible, literally incredible.
I want to ask you something, Ingram.
Yes.
If you had the same experience without. I mean, I know you rose above it and you had the successes that you had, but had you experienced the same thing without the sort of racism and the ridiculousness and everything else and the horrific kind of bigotry that you went through, do you think that you could have even greater success, or do you think you would have had the same success anyway?
No, I had great success. I would have done more. I would have done more because you got communication, isn't it? You communicate. You're talking to people that you know that openly racist don't like what you do.
Better without that. Yeah.
People shut the doors. They shut the door because you're black. They shut the door on you blatantly. You know it. But the thing that stuck in my mind, always stick in my mind, when I first came to Australia, I was on a bus, and the bus stopped, and there was it was my first Aborigine I'd ever seen. I you see on TV, but to actually see an Aborigine face to face, like literally see them on the street.
The first humans to reach that continent. Yeah.
Right. So I was watching this situation, and I saw the Aborigine try to get on the bus. I saw this Australian get out, spit in his face, and kick him.
Wow.
And then I saw how the Aborigines were being pushed into the outback, just into like remote areas that were just underdeveloped. They were pushed into the outback. I could see that, and it was horrible. And then I always, like, when I was growing up, I could never connect with Neighbours and Home and Away. Although I used to watch the show, I used to say to myself, where do I see myself in this show? Where can I fit in the show? And then
there was nobody.
There was nobody that represented what I looked like, even though I was watching these shows. I
used to watch that myself, and thinking back, it was completely white.
There was a girl down there, her name was Sarah. She died. Oh, I used to love that girl so much. I just tuned in to watch her. And then there was the Pippa as well, the second Pippa. She was quite nice as well back in the day. And then I think to myself, those memories, and I thought, wow, here I am. I can get to see a place.
Ramsey Street and everything.
Yeah, and then to shock horror, everything begins to make sense. It fits in. So, I mean, I may have just had an unfortunate situation. They got some beautiful places in Melbourne. I mean, I love, there's a place called Brighton there. It was all right. But I like I think Frankenstein was a place I loved that place there. I stayed in a place called, Preston. And we're very multicultural, Preston. And you go in, you've got the market there and a tram that would take you from my house right into the city, down to the beach. So you go past the beach into the city. Downtown Melbourne was just a dream, an absolute dream. And their nightlife,
Melbourne Park for sure.
Their nightlife, Judge, is unbelievable. I mean, I've had nightlife in America, very overrated. Nightlife in Brighton is amazing. Yeah. Brighton's nightlife is amazing, you know.
Wow.
London nightlife is okay. I still think it's overrated. There's something about being by the sea, which is incredible. But Melbourne nightlife, I walked into this nightclub, and the atmosphere was just incredible. And palm trees everywhere and just incredible atmosphere. The only other place that I think in the world that has got a party atmosphere that made me think I'm really proud to be here was in Italy when I went to Catania. And again, I mean, surreal. But that part of Catania where they've got the American army base there, they used to see black people, so they're quite used to it. And you go out a little further out now, when I was walking through a shopping mall and you're the only black face in a whole shopping mall, Jesus, that is something.
Yeah, it brings up, I don't want to go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But it brings up an interesting subject because at the time of World War II, when black GIs would come over from America to England, England actually made videos to show people that you should not treat American GIs who are black the same as you treat the white officers.
Yeah.
And this is something British government did. No, it's barely believable nowadays. But a lot of the British people at the time were fine, whatever, but they had to have these little cine films from Pathé Films or whatever to teach them how people were going to be, you know, how they should be treated. And like you say, because they were used to black people, they treat us all like human beings, weren't they? But it's interesting, it just provoked that thought in my mind that even in England, there was a time when we, arguably, in the 40s, we weren't as racist as we maybe are now. You know, it's weird. Strange one.
Get me wrong, I love Australia. I love the place so much. You know, I guess the best way to describe my mentality is this. You love the sinner, you just don't love the sin.
I mean,
it's not so much the color of your skin, but the content of your heart.
Exactly.
You know, that is something I've been taught and something that I believe. There are black people that are not good, and there are white people that are good, and there are Asian people not good. It's character and content of heart, and that integrity, those things stand and mean more to me than anything else. You know, I've had people that look like my own self that are willing to pull me down for a little bit of change. I've had people that are close to me that are supposedly brothers that are no different than the racist white man, if you want to say. You know, people say, oh, it's the white man's fault. No, it's your fault. Don't blame no white man. It's your fault. Don't blame, you know, your fault, your behavior for trying the crab in the barrel syndrome. You know, you're trying to get up and achieve something, and you've always got somebody trying to pull you down or make a negative comment about you or tell you you can't do this right, or you can't do that right, or this should be done better. Yet when you look at their lives, there's nothing
Sometimes
to.
the enemy can be closer to you than your friends are.
Of course, of course. And look, you've got family members as well. So never mind the white man. You've got family members that don't help either. They're not helpful. You know, they think what they're saying is correct, but not again, not founded on truth, but founded on ideas. You know, how do you know this is not true? Oh, well, if you go to this country, you're not going to be a success. Well, how do you know that? Have you been there? Have you tried? No. Well, how do you know it's not going to be a success for me? How can you measure my ability to dig in deep and do what I need to do to get to that next level?
Well, this brings us right back to the 19 players who quit and the guy that was just asking a question that was meant to provoke you, and you answered it honestly. It didn't make a difference. You were still going to work with what you had, and you did do that. It brings us right back to that.
Yeah. I Judge, I just feel at times, sometimes I get up in the morning, I think to myself, why am I still here? What am I doing this for?
It's the difficult path, isn't it? The difficult path is often the right path.
Well, yeah, but I mean, all these sayings like great power comes great responsibility, and it's just around the corner, and Jesus loves you, and all these cliche things that, you know, to be honest, they piss me off. When you are, Judge, when you are despairing, when you're it's interesting, when you're despairing or when you're in a dark room. Have you ever noticed that when you're in a dark room, or a dark room, I don't mean literally the lights are out. Sometimes the lights are out, but you're in a dark place, that more dark thoughts come to you. So like all those things. So like example, you'll be sitting in a room, you're not feeling so good about yourself, and then you'll start hearing all the other things that are not good about you, all the other failures you've done in life, all the other things that you didn't measure up to, all those YouTube comments start being unblocked and suddenly jumping out the trash can and coming at you. Yeah, maybe I am a bit of an idiot. Yeah, maybe I'm a bit of a fool.
There's that kind of thing. In the beginning of the Herman Melville's novel Moby Dick, he starts to talk about the fact that I found myself walking behind funeral carriages too much and noticing these things and all that kind of thing. Yeah. And so the character went to sea. You know, Ishmael went to sea in that book or that novel. And I think these things they're there, and you're noticing them, or we're noticing those people. But it's like the life journey. It may be that the life is never going to get easy, but it also may be that it's a sign for us to change lanes a little bit. You know, get out of the slow lane and move up a bit. It's a difficult one. I mean, all of us are in the same journey in life. You've had success from great hardship, but great hardship is still with you. But is that always going to be the case? Or is this hardship simply because you're in a certain lane that you can just move over into another lane? You know, it's hard to say. I mean, we've all got this in our lives every day, in whatever we're doing. And
somebody once said to me that the greatest opinion is that of your own. And and we've talked about this before, Judge, and it's like you have to have that belief in yourself and be rock solid in that belief in yourself, and regardless of what everyone else thinks. But I learned a new saying: don't take things personal from people who don't know you personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with that. I think that's where it was, because how many times does somebody write something on social media or a critique of someone, and they probably have written it with no knowledge whatsoever. They may not even know what effects it's having on the person. Yeah. They may have not even meant it. I mean, there have been examples of people who have gone online and committed suicide. There was a guy called Etika who was doing gaming videos online, and that people said he was faking mental illness and things like this. He eventually committed suicide. And who knows about who wrote these horrible things about him? Did they push him to it or not?
Yeah.
These people wouldn't have meant to. But we have to be very careful about what
these people
we listen to.
They're demons as far as I'm concerned, and there's a way you treat them. I treat you the way I meet you, and if you're a demon, you get treated in a certain manner, in a certain way.
Yeah.
You understand? And I literally mean they're a demon. They're not physical. These people are not physical. They're spiritual. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And that becomes a spiritual battle, because when you're sitting down in your darkest moments, they're not physically coming to you. They're coming to you spiritually. They're coming to you in your mind, in your ears.
Yeah.
You can't see them, but you can feel them. You can hear them. The oppression that they bring. So you say to yourself, am I going to allow them to have power over me and dominion over me? And that's how you just get stronger and stronger, because you think to yourself, no, I'm not going to let you have dominion over me. So you overcome that and you bring layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, and you get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. So when they make a comment now, you're almost like at the top of the Eiffel Tower looking over them when they make these comments.
Exactly.
And thinking,
yeah.
Who are you?
That's what Muhammad Ali said in an interview with, I can't remember his name, the Yorkshire interview, I can't remember his name, Michael Parkinson.
Yeah.
He was explaining that when Ali was sort of starting to show signs of maybe not being as quick as he was, and he was asked, do you think that what people are saying that you should maybe quit now and everything else? And Ali explained it like people miles below him looking up to him and telling him what he should do. And the reverse of that is in the film The Third Man, Orson Welles is in a Ferris wheel, and as he's at the top of the floor, his character's been selling basically fake penicillin, and lots of people are dying because he's not been selling right stuff. As he's at the top of the Ferris wheel, he says to the police officer chasing him, "Look at all those tiny people down here. Do you think that if one of them stopped moving forever, that you'd worry about?" And these two dramatic opposites show the fact that you can't know and you can't fully experience somebody higher than you and somebody lower than you. So the people that are lower than you, that are criticizing you, even with their best interests, even if they want to praise you, they don't know. They can't help you that way. You've got to, I think, whatever you're doing in life, I think you've got to listen to the people closest, or the people who are educated enough or proven enough in what you're doing. One of the things about your channel is interviews with Stacey McKinley, Lee Muhammad, James Bashir, many different boxers and stuff like that. When you're speaking to them, you're able to speak on an even level. Your proven history also with cricket and your coaching, and the incredibly difficult circumstances. You've had success even under those circumstances. So you're proven in that way. The people criticizing you might be some guys just seeing the video the first time, type something, and does that affect the person, It's crazy. That's social media the way it is.
Yeah, I guess so. You kind of forget the journey you've been on at times, particularly now with this lockdown. You forget where you've been and what you've done and what you've accomplished.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Like I can now call it a network. It's no longer a channel. I can call it a network.
It really is. I mean, Eastern Europe is taking note of BWTM. There's been loads of articles already in Ukraine. I think in Russia as well, but I know for definitely.
Yeah, Ukraine, Russia, Kazakhstan. Well, yeah.
Wow, yeah. So I know that they're taking notice.
Yeah, it means a lot. I mean, well, we've had.
I mean, they're watching the videos, they're translating the videos, they're publishing the contents, not only online, but I believe they're publishing them in the actual printed media as well.
Yes.
That's a hell of a reach. How many people is that reaching? I know that the UK is sort of like putting the blinkers on. I don't know why they're doing that.
Don't care.
But
I don't
who
care.
cares?
I call it lamestream media because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Lamestream media. Yeah. It's no longer about that. People are not interested in truth. People are not interested in finding out facts. People say about sources, but when they get sources, they still don't want to believe the facts. We're in a society now that corruption is cool. Corruption's okay. We'll defend corruption as long as it's our fighter. We'll defend corruption, and we'll turn a blind eye. But if it's another fighter, then no, they're wrong. It's too much of that. They're not fans of the sport. They're fans of personalities, and that is just damaging the sport.
True nowadays. Yeah,
it's damaging to the sport. Real damaging. But yeah, Judge, this conversation has really been healing for me tonight. It has.
I appreciate that, Ingram. I love talking to you.
Yeah, just looking back and be able to look back and kind of see where we've kind of been.
Yeah. The problems are there and everything else, but also what's evident in the past, just from what's been talked about between you and me just now, is just like it's helped me understand more about what your journey is. Obviously, we know each other, but hearing what I've heard, it's like it allows me to know even more about the obstacles and everything else, but that success happened anyway.
Yes.
And I think that is It's like just using boxing as an example. Some boxers change mid-fight, like a Bernard Hopkins or a Joe Calzaghe.
Yeah.
That is almost what you've done in life when you've been thrown into Australia. 19 of the people you're expecting to be there are not there, and yet you still produced quality, you know.
Yeah. Against the odds. Against the odds.
Exactly.
You know, and to think about this, the doctor said I'd never live a normal life. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. I had a professional boxing career with Ronnie Rush, which was Steve Robinson's old trainer and Barry Jones's old trainer. And I had a professional career ahead of me. And chronic fatigue syndrome took it away from me. And I had to rebuild myself one way or the other. And I ended up being part of building the Frank Bruno Boxing Academy, working with young offenders and coaching like boxing schools. And I got a shout out to Wayne Llewellyn for that, because it gave me the opportunity to express that side of boxing that I wasn't able to express as a fighter because of the illness. And the doctor said I would have to be on antidepressant tablets. Never took them. And I said it was Australia. When I went out to Australia, that healed me. So, you know,
that aspect of it interests me, because I can't remember the exact story now. You will know this. I don't know it, but Emmanuel Stewart, for some reason, couldn't continue his own boxing career. For some reason, I can't remember what it was now. He had to stop and he had to just move into training. And it's just making me wonder whether this is a history repeating itself a little bit, that you may have been able to do something, but things were derailed for whatever reason. But the knowledge is still there, the wisdom is still there.
But you know, people don't that whole chronic fatigue episode of my life was a spiritual thing, and I'll always say, because I'm a stronger man now. Imagine trying to get out of the bed in the morning, but you feel as if there's a weight on your back, there's a weight on your legs, there's a weight on your feet. Everything's tired, you're exhausted, and you can't get through a day. You can't study. It's, you know, I remember finishing training one night with Ronnie Rush, and I got home, and I remember hitting the heavy bag, and I could see 3 heavy bags, and he said to me, "Come on, you're a pussy. You can't punch." And he'd be saying things like that to me, really riling me up. And I went home that one night, and the next thing I remember is waking up in the morning, the key still in the door, and me being on the floor.
Just the size of the heavy bag, the fact that you're that close to it and you're seeing 3 of them, that says a hell of a lot.
And then I remember saying to him at one point, that I've just got into camp. I've just come into camp to start training. He says, "Well, you should have been here a couple of hours ago." I said, "Well, I didn't have any heating in the house." He said, "Well, the best thing you could have done then is taken a run around the block." That's what I came into. And at the time, the day I arrived into camp to Wales to start training and get my professional contract, Steve, his wife died the day I arrived. Yeah, she was in hospital. She died. And he was chasing Steve Robinson up for a certain amount of money. That was quite a nasty situation as well. So he was chasing former WBO champion. He was chasing Steve Robinson up for money. His wife had died. And I just come into living with him. So it was...
dropped into the lion's den, really.
Quite literally in the lion's den. And then I had the practical joker of Barry Jones. I always remember training next to Barry Jones, and I'd do my sit-ups. And he'd make the most, like, not being disrespectful, but probably not the best looking girl in town. He'd say to them, "Yeah, he really fancies you. He does. He really fancies you." And she'd be coming into the gym and like training, like, "Oh, do you fancy me?" And I, "Who told you that?" "Barry." "What? What are you talking about?" "Barry." And Barry's gone. And then Barry come in and say, "How'd you get on with the bird last night, eh?" Of course, she looked criminal. She did.
Oh, that's magic.
Good old Barry Jones, and it was fun. It was fun, you know. Yeah, Barry Jones, a cracking character, cracking guy. But I think he felt for me as well, because it was like, I remember times even in the gym sparring, and Ronnie would bring in some real tough guys. There's a guy who used to live around the corner from me in Ely. He was a real tough guy. He always, you know, they compare every time they want to get the better of you. They want to always get on top of you, and you're like, some days that's cool. Yeah, they want to work with you. You go out to the club with them. You know, you go out into town with them. They're your buddy. They're your mate. But sometimes you're in the gym. All you just want to do is work the jab and move around for a couple rounds. No, he wants to come in there. He wants to work body shots. He wants to bring uppercuts through the middle. He wants to throw vicious left hooks. He wants to watch. He's been watching Mike Tyson. He's fired up. He wants to come out and give it. And you're like, no, I don't want this tonight. He's come on in there. I'm like, no, mate, I really don't. Let's do a couple of rounds of technical sparring. I want a war tonight, mate. I'm like, you know. Of course,
like
mate, he's Welsh as well.
The pedals to the board.
Yeah. Were you too? You'd say to me. I'm like, oh no, lovely Welsh kid. But you've got him doing that, and you've got Ronnie on the outside calling me a pussy and useless and a waste of space and all these sort of things that somehow. And he's never happy. No matter what you do, you throw 10 jabs on the bag, it's not good enough. You throw 10 straight right hands, it's never good enough. And then this guy Mark came into the gym. He was there. I don't know if he was assistant to Ronnie. He came in and he would say things like, okay, I like the way you're throwing the jab, but can you be more consistent doing this? Or I like the way that you're blocking with your right hand. Can you come back with the left hook more?
That sounds like more like a teacher.
Yeah, and he would talk to me, and he would be like, "Yeah, I'm liking that jab. That's it. Pop him. Pop him. Pop him. That's it. Now put something behind it." He would say that, and I love that. And Ronnie being inside said, "Don't know why you're wasting time with him for. Waste of time he is." So
you see, sometimes I think it's different from horses for courses, isn't it? I mean, some people will.
That's completely abusive, and I completely abusive. I remember amateur bout I had. I think it was my third amateur bout, and we were in a place called my first amateur bout. You remember Gordon Banks?
Yeah.
Right, he was there. Now Gordon Banks has got one eye. Ian Napper, British Commonwealth and European bantamweight champion. He was having his last amateur fight.
Yeah.
And he came up to me, said to me, "Ingram." I said, "What?" He said, "You're boxing like a pro." I said, "This is my first amateur fight." He said, "No, you're lying to me." So I remember having this bout in Crawley, and it was top of the bill. I was meant to be first on. I was the last one on the night. Again, boxing. My trainer said to me, "This guy will come out like Mike Tyson, so all you have to do is stick behind the jab, you'll be okay." So I expect this guy to come charging out the ring first round, charging out of me first round. So first round comes out in boxing. Now I don't know what's going on from the outside, but I know there was some cheering going on. But my friends who were there, who looked like me, told me afterwards they were shouting the N word, beat the end, beat the end, beat the end. Yeah, Crawley. Right. So anyway, first round comes out, the guy comes out at me, and I'm like, okay, this guy's coming at me like Mike Tyson. He's, as my trainer says, we've been training weeks and weeks in Southwick, down in Sussex, for this guy to come at me, and the guy's standing off me. So you've got to completely reset, because now this guy's he's standing up and boxing rather than him coming at me. So I'm ready, waiting, the right hand ready to let the right hand go, tie him up and hold. Ready to do those things, completely different. See, he's got me hitting with the jab. So I put my head down and use the jab, and he's coming with the jab. So I thought, right, I'm going to throw a right hand. Threw the right hand, hit him over the top, bang, dropped him. And as I dropped him, the referee grabs me and pulls me to the corner. Says, "None of that, son." I said, "What?"
Wow.
A bit confused.
Wow.
Right? So the bell's gone. I've gone back to the corner, sat down. The guy's gone, "Beautiful work. Yeah, beautiful work. Great stuff. More of that." So I've just.
That's an aspect of the corruption that you've witnessed. I mean, I don't know the whole story, but that sounds to me like pure corruption.
So,
and also, sorry, go on.
So second round comes out now. Come out for the second round. The guy's come out again, hard jab again. Hit with the jab. Shit, this guy's got hard jabbing him again. He makes the same move again. I catch him right, drop again. Drop over the top, bang overhand right over the top, drops him again. Referee, and I've got him on the ropes, and I've got him with the right, hit with the right hand. Referee comes up to me and pulls me off me and says to me, "You hit him like that again, son, and I'm going to disqualify you." But I thought the aim of the sport was to hit a guy, right? So I'm going to give a damn. Listen, I'm in there now, and he's coming for me. I've got to take him out. So I whack this guy again, same right hand, bang, come with the right hand, got him in the ground ropes, hit him with the right hand, referee pulls him off him. I'm like, oh yeah, the referee's going to stop the fight because obviously this guy is in no fit condition to continue. He comes to me and he waves me off.
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
what are you doing? Everyone in the actual room in the hotel, it's the Copthorne Hotel in Crawley. And it's like, boom. I'm really confused. The next thing I realised, the announcement's been made. The guy who has got the trophy in his hand, he's still swaying around like this, literally swaying around. Blood's coming out of his nose, swaying. He's got this trophy in his hand. I've got my hands on my hips like this. The guy's ducked out of the ring and went right into his, like, it looks like a limousine and takes off. So I get confused. I walk out the room. Get out the ring, and I can't understand what's going on. So when we get back to my mate's all sitting down there and we're talking, he says, you know, they were shouting Sambo and the N-word to you, right? I'm like, what? They wanted blood. And they found out that they switched the bout to the last bout of the night. Napa was fighting, but he was the only other black guy on that card that night. So they'd set it up for the black guy versus the white guy at the end of the night. That's what they wanted.
What the hell?
Yeah. And that referee got suspended.
I wonder how much back pocket money he took.
He got suspended. I remember my third bout was just as bad either. My trainer put me for the novice championships. And I remember watching a guy, before I got there, I watched a guy got knocked down twice and win a fight. 3-round fight, knocked down twice and still won the fight on points.
Wow.
Can't work that out.
You see, this is the thing, Ingram. When some of the videos on BWTM, and you know personally, innately, that corruption in boxing exists, has always existed, and even exists today, even at the highest level. This is an example from your personal experience that you know about, but also it makes me think, to do with the crowd, the way that they were trying to get the crowd on one side ready for what they were going to fiddle. They were trying to get the crowd on the side of the guy that they wanted to win anyway. They were going to make win. It makes me remember Richard Williams, the father of the Williams sisters in tennis, when they were growing up and they were training on courts in America, mostly empty. Their father would actually pay people to sit in the crowd and jeer them so that they were ready for it. You know, he knew that everything that was going to come on, and he readied them for it because he knew what was going to be thrown at them. And God knows what has been thrown at them over the years. I don't know. Only they will know secretly. But this is an example that you've gone through in your own life of absolute sort of racist prejudice and also
the second bout
well.
I had at the 1066 club up in Hastings, 1066 club.
Yeah.
Again, witnessed by, so Gordon Banks saw my first bout, the legendary goalkeeper, one eye, he could see what was going on. This fight, right? Robin Reed's fight, Robin Reed fought this guy for defending his British title against him. And he was there, he was like a local celebrity. So this guy I went to fought, I got him in the first round, hit him with the left jab, and the right hand came over the top. Boom! Blood started coming out his eye. Do you know they stopped the fight to patch the guy's eye up? They stopped the fight to patch his eye up so he could continue fighting. Only for him to walk onto more right hands and get stopped. Yeah. And you know, I'll go out of the ring and he went, oh, you're kind of lucky, ain't you, mate? Why am I lucky? Why am I lucky? Oh, yeah, because if you didn't get a cut with that right hand, Johnny would have chinned you. He's got a mighty left hook. They're calling for because he's got an hammer in that left hook. I said, well, your Johnny didn't, did he? Your Johnny got bashed up, didn't he? You're funny, ain't you, mate? So that money you're sponsoring Johnny, with what you sponsor me, Johnny got bashed up by me, so I should have some of that sponsorship money now, don't you think? Because he sponsored the show in it, so...
It's not a level playing field, is it? That's all.
Dear me. And then my girlfriend's dad at the time was there as well, isn't it? My girlfriend's dad at the time was also my trainer's good mate. He decided to pop up, and I can tell you that he did not like the fact that I was dating his daughter at the time, because obviously I wasn't of the same community as him and his daughter, and his daughter loved it because it peed his father off that she was dating a guy that was not what they considered to be
exciting. Yeah, I can understand that.
No, I was a person of color, and that didn't go down too well. And of course, they came from a classical background. Her great founder was Handel, so they were from a very high, well-to-do background, and there was me. It's this guy of color dating their daughter. So of course, he always looked like he's smelling something stink when he's the guy's about 6'5", and he always looks like he's smelling stink when he sees me. When he says hello, it's like, he's got a frown on his face, And of course, guess who came flying into the dressing room after the fight? Edith. Well, my trainer had to bleed. I'm there feeling, stop that geezer. I felt good. That was quite good. On to the next fight. He comes in the room. Well, you made hard work of that, didn't you, mate? What do you mean I made hard work? If I stopped the guy in 2 rounds? Yeah, well, you could have stopped him in 1. I could have stopped him in 1. They were patching the guy out, for God's sake. Nah, you could have stopped him in 1. You hit with the right hand. You could have followed up and doubled up that right hand, come back in the hospital and stopped him then.
This is the other thing again. Everybody's an expert, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah, but, you should have done this.
I'm like, you're damned if you do, damned you don't. I remember the last bout I had. I remember this bout I had at the Norwich Championships. It was bad. We were waiting for ages to fight, and my mate, sparring with a light heavyweight at the time. He's like 6'3", and he was doing real good. He was looking really good. He went out there and he fought in the tournament. He got his jaw broken in the first round. Now you're watching this in the changing rooms, and you're watching your mate's jaw gets broken, and you're hearing the crack of his jaw being broken.
Wow!
As you're waiting to fight. Bear in mind now.
That's interesting. I'd love to hear what that does to another fighter.
Well, this is my mate getting his jaw broken. Bear in mind now, I haven't done myself any favors because we were waiting around for so long. We all went and got McDonald's in the end. So then I said, "Oh yeah, you're going to be fighting in 20 minutes." So I had just some chips. That was it. But I was thinking to myself, should I have eaten those chips now? Really, I shouldn't have eaten those chips and blah 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 blah. So we were at 5 hours hanging around, not eating anything. Got some chips in the stomach, and then this fight, my fight was called next. He was rushed out to fight. He got his jaw broken. I thought, all I need when I come out to box tonight is a guy with a skinhead, short, and with tattoos. I just don't give me anything else but that tonight. I'll be happy. So I'm in the ring now and I'm waiting. He comes out now. Flipping hell. What does he look like? Short, squat, tattoos on his face, tattoos on his back, tattoos on his arm. I said, for flip's sake. Yeah. And then I thought, this guy, my mate just had his jaw broken. This guy's come to ring. I'm like, oh no. No. Inside, you're just doomed inside. You're like, this is it. This is the night it's going to happen. Of all, that'll teach me for having the McDonald's. Yeah, right. And then I've got my girlfriend there at the time. I said, I want to sit down and cry with you for me. I'm thinking, so all the stuff is going through my mind. And then I've got my trainer. Now, my trainer is short guy, about 5'2", 5'3". Good friends with Ronnie Davis, trainer of Chris Eubank Jr., a senior, in fact. He's going there, going, right, mate, this is it. You're ready for the fight, right? So keep your hands up, And he's the kind of guy that, if you didn't keep your hands up, he's the kind of guy that said to you, keep your hands up. You think you're moved up, keep your hands up. You're not listening to me, are you? Mike, give me the gum shield. Gets the gum shield, walks in the ring, and starts sparring with you. That's the kind of guy my trainer was. Loved him for it, but hated him for it. And he had this girlfriend who used to dress up in drag, and they're called Savages. So that was the name of it. But it's quite funny. How can you call a club Savages, but you're dressing like a kind of like a drag queen? I never got it. I did understand why it was Savage afterwards. So the fight comes up now. Ding ding. Round 1 goes. So the first round, he's come out, bobbing and weaving. Lucky, nice. Got him on the jab. Beautiful. Lovely on the jab. Yep, that's it. Pinged him with the right hand. Eyes rolling in the back of the head, right? His eyes are literally rolling in slow motion back of the head. I've gone, shit, his eyes are rolling. I've just rocked a guy who's met me a hard man. All this is going through my head. Who's met me a hard man, and he's got tattoos on him. So I'm confronting my fear and my expectations all at once, real quickly. So I didn't throw the other right hand. The bell's gone back to the corner. Sat down, Trainer's talking to me. Why are you throwing the right hand? What are you throwing the right hand for? I said, well, you know, he's talking to me. I'm wondering, I'm trying to work out in my brain why I didn't throw the right hand. He's shouting and screaming at me in the corner. Get out there and get the job done.
Wow.
Second round, I've gone out there for a second round. I've gone again with a jab. He's moved the same way. Bang, corner right hand. And my thumb's gone. My thumb was literally gone. Swollen. I could feel it inside. It's cracked. Right?
Yeah.
And I've just gone, right, shit. And I've held him. I've gone, shit, I've got to get through this round. So just jab. Got back to the corner, sat down. What's wrong with your right hand? I said, I busted it. Oh, flip me now, you busted your right hand. You got to fight for it, mate, you pussy. Fight for it. Third round comes out now. The one round of the fight, flipping out, right? So I can always remember the sequence. I'm using the jab. He steps inside. He throws the right hand. I catch the right hand. I catch the left hook. I catch the right hand. I catch the left hook. I push him off. I double up the jab. The bell goes. He's announced the winner. 2 rounds to 1. 2 rounds to 1, right?
Wow.
Then he comes up to me and says to me, mate, you're hard. You're hard geezer, I am. This is the first time I've come to these championships, and I'm an army lad. Do you know what I mean? I'm an army lad. And they're coming in. I'm like, such a nice kid afterwards. You never thought it with all the tattoos and stuff.
Yeah, he give you the respect, though.
Yeah, and then guess what my trainer turns around and says to him? He's a fucking pussy, really. He's got a busted thumb, but he's a fucking pussy. I'm thinking to myself, is this what it's about? Is this really what it's about? I busted my thumb. First experience in my life where I've had to deal with pain. I've used my jab. I've been defensively responsible. I've used the jab. I've controlled distance. He's landed 4 clean shots on my guards. I've caught them 4 shots. And you're telling me he won the fight. Although I saw a fight previously of a guy getting knocked down twice and then coming back up and still winning a fight in points.
There you go. I mean, this is a fascinating one because you remember every shot, you remember the sequence of everything. Yeah. And you can apply that and you can extrapolate that to other fights and you can see how the other fights would have been counted differently to yours.
I just think to myself,
it's an interesting one.
And my thumb was busted, and I think my thumb still has never been the same since. But you know, it's like that's what I got for that. That's what I get for putting myself in line, training, getting into camp, training, being the guy that a lot of people like in the gym. They think I'm going to go. You know, they compared me to Howard Eastman. The way I used to box. Even Ronnie Davies himself said, we're looking at the new Howard Eastman there. And I'll tell you when. The Boxy Bomber. Do you know when that was? When I tell you when they were talking about me like that as the next Howard Eastman. When Eastman fought Rob McCracken for the British title, and they had that grudge match.
So they're comparing you to somebody at the top level at the time.
Right. And but I didn't see, I saw Howard Eastman as a very negative fighter. I didn't see him as a I saw him as, although I met Howard and I spoke to Howard on many occasions, really nice guy. Many times you see the Battersea Bomber and talk to him. And I always want to see the Battersea Bomber fight Chris Eubank. Right? And he was always a mysterious fighter, the Battersea Bomber.
He was sort of like, from my point of view as a boxing fan at the time, he was sort of enigmatic because he was so different. And I think he had a pet parrot and stuff, didn't he? And he was like, he was just so different. He was like a sawn off head as well. And but unfortunately, my last memory of him, I'm getting off subject, but my last memory of him was
Miranda.
Bernard Hopkins moving around.
Okay.
It was Hopkins for me, But,
Wow. And now you bring back another memory I'm talking about now. I remember in the gym, that same gym that I was preparing for that first fight against the referee jumped out. I remember there was an old guy in there in the gym. There's always an old white guy in the gym that knows, very knowledgeable. He's been in the gym since the gym's been open, since we had black and white TV. Then one of them kind of trainers, you know. And when I say that is this, he turned around and he said to me, I remember him saying to me, mate, because there was a watchtower, a lighthouse in Sussex, there's Shoreham. He say, the lighthouse can't see you, mate. I said, why is that? He says, because you're a darkie.
Oh, wow, really?
Flipping hell.
What was that?
Flipping hell. I'm not racist, mate. I'm not racist. You're just darkie, that's all.
You see, when you were talking about that, what I thought you were actually going to lead into is that this was like the three guys in Coming to America in the barbershop who were just passionate
no,
about boxing.
no,
They didn't realise
no,
it was going to
no,
end like this.
no. And then mate, I'm not racist, mate. I've got a black mate.
Yeah, okay.
And then you've got the opposite where I remember once training at West Ham. The first time I ever got in a boxing gym was at West Ham boxing gym. And I remember the trainer there. You think he's still there, black guy. He went to me, "Well, you think you remember Ali, do you, mate? You think you remember Ali, do you? We'll see what you got, mate." I remember it so distinctly, so well. Stuck me in the ring with a guy that was a former ABA champion who was going for the other ABAs. Wow. I knew there was an ABA champion at the time. It's lucky I'd had martial arts experience before, and that's what kind of got me through it. He said, "You know what I like about you, mate? You've got heart. You've got guts. You take a good shot. You're smart. You know when you put punches together. You know your way around the ring. You're alert. I like you. I like you. But the problem with you, mate, is you're not married, are you? Keep your hands up, all right?" And I just, maybe it was just me. I just never. I don't know what it was. I got to a point where I said, all right, this is the way it's going to be. I have to listen to these people because they know better. But ultimately, I don't think I should listen to any of those people because none of those people really had my best interests at heart. They had their best interests at heart. It was about them not being embarrassed. It was about their voices being heard. It was about, making them feel good, themselves feel good, while making me feel like trash. And I just find it abusive because the perfect example of that now is when I was in training camp with Ronnie Rush, and that trainer came in, and he was like, "This is what you do with the jab. This is how you use the right hand. This is how you should put the left hook in."
You saw a glimpse of how it could be. And everybody in the world has a kind of a teacher that in any subject that remember this great teacher, somebody who could teach.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder how many. From the story, your story, what you went through, it's an example of how boxing is, how difficult of a minefield it is. But it's also an example of what could have been, where could you have been if you'd had a better background, and where, any of the greats that we look up to, did they just get lucky?
Some of my best teachers have been white. Wow. Neil Ryder, who former England women's cricket manager, right? John Embry, the great off spinner for England. Toby Radford, Middlesex coach, head county coach. I've had some great teachers, real great teachers. People who've mentored me. I'm so thankful and grateful because of those people. If I
ask a tough question, Ingram, do you think, with it being a team sport, do you think that sometimes even a black trainer in boxing will be more interested in a white prospect than a black prospect because of the money situation further on the line, like a Canelo kind of deal? Do you think that could have ever been a reason as to that, or do you think that's nothing to do with anything?
I think with some of us within our community, we hate ourselves. We do hate. We have a hate for ourselves, and that hate is passed on to another person. Whether you hate that person when it takes. So listen, I've spoken to some trainers and some people that are black, and they're wise in what they know and what they do, but maybe not so wise in how they pass it on. And it's caught up with that sort of self-hatred or bitterness because they weren't a success in what they did. And they can see that you can be potentially a success. And rather than encourage you, they'll stick the knife in. I don't think you can do it. I don't think you're capable. It's capable. Oh, no, it's not I don't think you can do it. I don't want you to do it. I don't want you to succeed because if you succeed, you outshine me. I don't want that happening. A lack of respect. A lack of being able to pass on the torch, they understand it. Like when you look at movies like Spider-Man and Uncle Ben was prepared to pass on the torch. He made a sacrifice. He gave up his ego. I don't know where all this is coming from, but he gave up his ego. He said, you know what? My time is coming to an end. Let me pass it on to a youngster. And let me pass it on to a youngster, and not just pass it on to a youngster, but allow that youngster to thrive, to achieve, to be the best he possibly can be. Rather than, I'm going to pass his knowledge on, but when I pass the knowledge on to him, I'm going to put stumbling blocks in front of his way. Yeah, here's all the knowledge, but you're not going to make it. Here's all the knowledge, go and study something else. Here's all the knowledge, but you may have a problem down the line. Well,
it's a strange one, isn't it?
You know, it's just.
I mean, the situation you talk about is very. I mean, one of the greatest boxers who's probably disliked the most for no other reason than his race is probably Jack Johnson. And Jack Johnson eventually went on to teach or to show Max Schmeling how to beat Joe Louis the first time, you know, what to look for. He was instrumental in that. And that's an example of that, just basically, I suppose, just getting fed up.
But Jack Johnson was sleeping with white women as well, and at that time that was a no-no. So he was breaking code. Yeah. He was beating up the white men, and he was sleeping with white women. So of course he's not going to be mission popular for that, is he?
No, and
it probably was a turn on for him anyway.
Sorry, go on.
It's probably a turn on for him as well. Think about this: you should be sleeping with a white woman. You sleep with many white women, and you're beating up white men. So you're dealing with the racism. So you're sleeping with the women, and you're beating up their men. I mean,
quite possibly. Yeah.
Think about the power trip that Jack Johnson possibly was on at the same time dealing with all the racism. How was he dealing with all that pain?
That's a really good point, actually, because he was at the top of the world.
Yes.
Above everything.
Yeah.
With both races against him.
Yeah. So then he was sleeping with the white women, right? And he was releasing himself with the white women, and with the white men, he was beating them up, letting out dealing with the racism. So imagine that for Jack Johnson. People won't talk about it that way, but that's what it was, isn't it? So of course he was hated.
That's definitely what it is, but it's like later in his life, and I think he was the mastermind, as far as I know, and I don't have knowledge of it, but as far as I know, he was the mastermind behind Max Schmeling having the one shot at Joe Louis, having the one victory.
Yeah. And
it's just like that. It's that aspect of him. What was happening as him as an older man then, that he would want to just basically prove something again, I suppose. Well, I can take this guy who's lost before and done everything, and I can make him destroy Joe Louis, and it worked that time. So it's like, it's a really deep subject we're talking about, and I'm not really qualified to talk really heavily about it.
Well, I'm not qualified to talk about it either, because I'm not Jack Johnson, and I'm not heavyweight champion of the world, and I'm not sleeping with white men, and having white men hate me. So white women and so
But you've done this sport, you know what I mean, and you've witnessed this sport to a degree. You've witnessed the corruption at times. You've witnessed the highs and lows.
I guess an encouraging point was when I was on the pads with James Bashir, and he said to me, "Yeah, you've got power. I could have done something with you." It's
oh wow!
That's greatly encouraging. And then there's a couple of people on YouTube who actually watched me. I think it was Ultra Tech Sport was watching me. He gave me a shout, and he was watching me throw the punches correctly, and he was saying, very few people can talk about the sport and actually be able to deliver in the sport as well. So illness saved me. Well, it saved me. It made my life. The chronic fatigue took me another way. You understand?
Yeah.
So, and I know what the problem with the people won't accept it with chronic fatigue. And I do want to talk about it just for a second. Chronic fatigue syndrome, as far as I'm concerned, in my experience, there are two types of people with chronic fatigue. There are those that embrace it and want change. And there are those that embrace it and they don't want change. I'll talk about the people that they embrace it and don't want change first. Mm-hmm. These are the people that celebrate how many medicines they have. I've got this medicine. I take this tablet. I take these amount of tablets a day. And I can't sleep. I can't do this. And they get into a repeated pattern of talking about the amount of tablets they have, how depressed they are, how sorry they feel for themselves. And then when you try and talk to them to get out, they go, no, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this. And this defensive mechanism comes about where they don't really want change, because they're quite happy being That's what their identity is. But the chronic fatigue syndrome, for me, I call it the 360 disease, because what it really does, it makes you look at the people around you, the negative people that are around you, and the negative energy that puts around you. That's your vampires, people sucking your energy, taking, people speaking negative things into your life, and negative conversations of you, telling you you're never going to do it, that you're useless, that you're never going to amount to anything, you're the devil incarnate, you're all the things that people can call you, they called you, and you take it and you believe it. Do you know that stuff affects your immune system and it turns on you, which is what the chronic fatigue syndrome does?
I've heard that if we, as human beings, if we hear something about ourselves, even negative, for long enough, we'd start to believe it.
Yeah, of course. And there's the other type, like myself, who saw it and started to go work, reshaping my life. The people I was having in my life, I changed. The conversations I was having, the places I'd find myself, the food I was eating. A lot of the food was tin food. And the chronic fatigue, when you have metals in your system, they don't tell you about this. The metals they have in your system has a effect mentally, and it has an effect emotionally. So it affects your emotional state. And chronic fatigue is also, you find a lot of people who have chronic fatigue are light workers. Now, I'm going a bit deep into this now. These are people, indigo children, light workers, people who've got their third eyes that have been opened, but society dismisses them because they're strange, they're a bit different. They are. That's what I talk about. This people being dismissive of people who are a little different, have different experiences.
Even even in mainstream accepted medicine and mainstream media.
Lamestream. There's no lame. They're not main. They're lame. Lame.
In the lamestream media, they prescribe lithium for a lot of people with the condition of depression and stuff like that, which is a metal. So what you're saying about the metal, there's no question about that. It's proven.
Okay. What's the opposite of depression?
Euphoria, I would imagine.
Right. So that's the opposite of depression. How do you get from euphoria to depression?
I honestly don't know.
Okay. What triggered? There's a trigger point. I tell you, it's a trigger point. You go back and you think about something enough times. If I think about euphoria enough times, where's it going to get me? If you think about solutions all the time, or think about challenges and you're looking for solutions, you'll find solutions. If you think about problems, you'll find more problems.
Dwelling on things,
Right. And that's what we talk about, what we meditate on. It's a spiritual concept of what you think about something enough, you'll generate from it. If you focus on fear, what do you get?
Yeah, I get what you mean now.
Right. So these people who've got this chronic fatigue syndrome, first they've got to change their mindset. They've got to they've got to say to themselves, you know what does it take for me to overcome this disease? What does it take? What do I have to sacrifice? I have to change.
Thinking,
So what they do, they hang around other people with chronic fatigue syndrome. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to hang around other people who've got chronic fatigue syndrome? Surely you want to get out of it, right? So don't you want to be around people that are more positive? You don't want to be around people that are more enlightened? Don't you want to be around more people that are euphoric? Don't you want to be around people that care and love and want to nurture your spirit rather than destroy your spirit and pull you down? I'm feeling ill. I'm talking to you. Oh, you know what? I'm using 8 tablets today. Well, guess what? I'm using 12 tablets today. Okay. Well, you know what? I slept for 5 hours. You'll never guess what? I slept for 8 hours today. Do you know what? I could pick up a can of beans. Do you know what? I could pick up my left finger. Watch these people in these forums over and over again. You go and talk to them and say to them, hey, what's up? I had what you had. I'm on the other side of it. Look, this is what I can show you how it's done. Really? And then you talk to these experts, these doctors, these supposed doctors. Now, how can you be an expert at something you've never even had the thing?
That's a really good point. I've witnessed that in my own life with my father who was ill. But would you? One question I ask you is, with chronic fatigue syndrome, would you say that it has left you, or would you say that you're just dealing with it differently now, and you're beating it indomitably now?
It's a teacher. All it comes is to teach you. It's a spiritual lesson you have to learn. That's all it is. But you want to make it natural, and if you take it a natural way, you have to take pills and stuff. It's a healing process which is natural. It healed my life. It made me literally stronger. The things that I can do I'm able to do with chronic fatigue. After fighting chronic fatigue for 7 years of my life, I couldn't do had I not had chronic fatigue syndrome. Mentally, imagine every time you get up in the morning, you feel as if you've got a weight on your shoulders, on your neck,
So
and your head.
You turned something that was an incredible disability into something that actually was beneficial to you.
Yeah, I remember once years ago, I was in Wales, and I had to go and sit before two of these medical officers, two white guys with glasses, old. And I walked up the steps to get to the interview. And they said to me, "You walked up the steps, right?" And they said to me, "Well, if you can walk up the steps, you're fine." And I was like, I battled. I mentally put my head to it. I battled and I got up the steps. They said, "No, you've got no disability. You're fine." And I remember walking through the pouring rain because I was I had medical disability at the time, and it was hard. Yeah. It was difficult, mate. I'm telling you, it was struggle. Every breath, I felt like it was my last breath. And you just felt like every step you took was like there was a big weight behind you. Well, it was awful. I remember it raining at the time, and I'm like, horrible. Why did you do this to me? But I said, you know what? I'm going to beat these people. I'm never going to let them talk to me like that again, ever. I'll make a fool of me like that. So here we are today. And with every key, it came from. And then you've had incidents in lives, even across social media, where people say and do things to bury you. And you say to yourself, never. Oh, I'm down. I'll get back up. I'll dust my feet back. And I'll come back even harder.
That's what it's like. That's like the visual exemplification of it. That kind of getting up. No matter how many times I'm here, I'm going to get up. And that's what, as we've been talking, that's been the overriding thing about your character, you as a person, in what we've been talking about your past.
And you know what? All these people, I'm telling you, no word of a lie. The people that are so far I've seen that I've stuck my hand out and done well for them, and they've come and they've turned around and they've just couldn't help it within their character to just do wrong by me. I tell you, karma is something. It's incredible. Like when I think about this judge, it's incredible. I think to myself, I try to do good because I see karmatic debt. I see what happens when other people don't do right by people that do well to you. If you come and you do right to somebody, and then somebody comes and does you wrong for no apparent reason, they think they're going to get away with it. They don't. They never do.
Sometimes also it'd be something that they actually think is going to benefit them.
Yeah, but they don't. They don't. They don't. They don't get away with it. They don't.
Yeah.
Because they too have got ambitions. They too have got dreams. They too have got visions.
Exactly. Yeah.
They too are hoping that somebody's going to open a door for them, give them that job, and give them the thumbs up for them to get the job. Or they may have a tight situation at work where they need their boss to back them, and the boss doesn't back them. Or they have children now. They want their children to go to certain schools, and they expect their children to get bullied, but they've been bullying people online, and they think, we can bully you online and say all these horrible things to you, and they think they can get away with it. I'm not cursing anybody, but the thing is, when you put out what you sow is what you reap.
Exactly. I was just thinking exactly that.
And
that's a very old term.
It's true though.
Yeah.
And you see, Judge, this is the thing. And it goes back to the whole thing we start with, the whole thing about social media and black and white and all this. It's energy.
Yeah.
Because you put that out there, and you think that it's just you. You got family members. You decide to have kids. It might skip you. That karma may skip you and hit your kids. Your kids get bullied in school. It's so many strange things can happen, and I'm not wishing ill of anybody.
No, I know.
But karma is an incredible thing.
There's something about it, and I know you're not wishing ill on anybody because, like we're talking very early on, even the naysayers and everything else, we wish them the best. It's just that we don't like what they do. We don't mind them. We don't like what they do.
It's like fire will burn you. Stick your hand in fire, it will take your skin off. I'm not saying fire's bad, but if you stick your hand in fire, you will get burned, and that's the truth. And some people have this sort of blinkered way of thinking that the fire's not going to burn me, and then when they get burned, they want to blame the whole world. But you were told You do this, you act this way, this is what will happen to you. And I do feel sorry for these people. I do, because I've seen it time and time and time again of people that think they can pull the rug from under me or do these things. And I watch them. They do what they do. They act the way they act. They behave the way they behave. And it doesn't get them very far. It really doesn't. It doesn't.
There's no... How many people in the world, including Floyd Mayweather Jr., said there's no shortcut to success?
There is.
Okay? These people think there is, and they think that by shafting a few people they'll get to success. It's not going to happen ever.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
No.
They're just deluding themselves, basically, like you're saying, basically. And the karma aspect of it, what goes around comes around, and reap what you sow. All these things, these are adages that have been known to people for hundreds of years, because this is how life is. It's always been the way life is.
Coaching, the success of coaching or teaching has been because I've had so many teachers that thought screaming and shouting and insulting was the way, that now when I coach, I speak as if I wish the way I would be spoken to.
Wow. Yeah, that says a hell of a lot.
And
it really does.
You know, you can call yourself a great trainer all you want, but if you're screaming and shouting at people, your greatness is not what you say. Your greatness is in how they react and how they respond.
An example of that in a really lightweight thing, and obviously the great words that you just said there is just immense, but one of the most lightweight versions of that is the painter Bob Ross in America.
Yeah.
I think he spent 20 or 30 years in the Air Force as a drill sergeant, shouting and bawling at people and everything else. When he did his show with his painting, he used a softer voice because he hated having to do that. That was what he was told to do. It's how he had to do it. And I would be willing to bet, and I think everybody would agree with it, that he taught more people speaking softly, educating them, encouraging them with his painting than he ever managed to do in the army, doing the other way of doing it, just basically breaking people down.
I tell you what is damaging, I think I've been damaged by this screaming and shouting, is that now when somebody talks to you really nicely and they talk to you calmly, you have a problem with it. Because you've been so used to being in a society of shouting and screaming.
Like you don't believe it almost if it's it's positive?
Yeah. But I know it's abusive. I know it's abusive. Like Teddy Atlas is probably one of the most abusive trainers in the world, but everyone celebrates him. But he's blatantly abusive.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I know. I'm trying to think of an example, but I know. I've seen so many fights with him in the corner, and
like he turned around to Nakamura once. Do you want me to call your son? Do you want me to call him that he tells his dad doesn't want to fight? Do you want me to call your son?
Nothing to do with the actual fight happening, just
no. You get knocked down, you go back to the corner. You just got knocked down, and you're trying to get your head together, and your trainer's talking about firemen. What? I've just got knocked down by Manny Pacquiao. You talk about firemen. Well, you want to be reassuring me and tell me I can get through the next round, not I'm a fireman. Come on, man. Fireman puts out fires. Really? Compared to Angela Dundee, who turns around to Sugar Ray Leonard, he's down on the cards with Thomas Hearns. He says, "You're blowing it, son. You're blowing it." In the 14th round, you're blowing it, son. Yeah. Come on, that's iconic. Not firemen put out fires. That's not iconic. That's the reason why Timmy Bradley got his ass beat up.
Well, yeah, it's one of the things that's talked about a lot on BWTM.
We celebrate mediocrity so much.
Not great trainers, always, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Not big names, not great trainers.
So, Judge, what are your final thoughts for tonight?
It's been great discovering so much subject with you, Ingram. One of the best things, from my point of view, has been hearing from a fighter at the level that you were and what you went through. Also hearing about somebody who was a fighter but also was dealt in other sports and has had experience of hardship in general in sport, in organised sport, in public sport and everything else. So heard some fascinating things are also about just building up in boxing, early fights in boxing. The referee calling it off because you were doing too well. Things like this, these are just gems for history. And so I'm hoping that, I'm grateful that this has been said, because it's like, these are things that can be brought forward and they can be extrapolated into, this is boxing, this is what boxing is. Many fighters will have gone through this as well. Some won't have made it through, some will have made it through. Some maybe don't speak as you're speaking. You're speaking truthfully.
I've just thought about it. Ian Napper.
Yeah.
It's probably Ian Napper and Barry Jones. Yeah, Ian Napper and Barry Jones are the two people around in my life, not in my life, but around today that I could probably get a hold of and would have seen me box. Live. Yeah. Ian Napper and Barry Jones.
See, it's an aspect that many people watching the channel will not be aware of. They may have seen you on the pads, they may have seen this, but that's hearing these bits of gems about the past and stuff and what you went through. Not gems because of the hardship and everything, but gems because of the information.
Yeah.
That this corruption exists from the top to bottom, not just at the top.
Yeah, of course.
You know? And the trials that a boxer has as well.
Yeah.
Any fighter has moving up. And it's like when you were speaking of it, it's like a bewildering, well, who do I trust? My cornerman's saying it's great and the referee's saying it's not. It's like, what the hell do I do? I mean, the fact that you've got to have a brain about you to deal with that, and thankfully you had that. And it reminds me again of Emmanuel Stewart, that for whatever reason couldn't do the boxing career they should have had. And again, is this something that's a blessing for you moving forward? That you've been cut off there for whatever reason, and now that we've still got the knowledge that would have got you somewhere had you had a different environment to grow through, you know?
Yeah.
Just reminds me of that.
Yeah, I think now, in my time, it's not about being a follower anymore. It's about being a leader or growing into being that leader. As I've tried to follow many different people, but some of the people I've tried to follow, they might not have been great leaders.
There's a time in classical music, like Evgeny Kissin, the great classical pianist, at one point, his tutor had to say, look, I've got to let you go. You passed what I've done. And that must take something for that teacher to say that. Maybe not all teachers can even know that. But thankfully, his teacher told him, I can't do anymore now. You're going to have to go. I'm going to hold you back if I keep you any further.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes the pupil goes further than the tutor, but the tutor sometimes may not know it, but sometimes will know it and say so.
Like for now,
but that must be a really difficult one.
It is. Like for now, when I look at BWTM as a network and where I'm thinking, the sort of people that I should be talking to, I would say now, and having conversations with, are people like I forgot the guy's name again. He does Medea. I'm looking at him now. I can see the guy's face now. I just had his face. I was going to tell you who he is as well. Oh, he's got his own network. He played. He plays Medea, but I can see the guy now, black guy. I forgot his name now.
I'm trying to think.
I've got the name right top of my head, and I just had his name, and I forgot about him. I'm going to Google his name because I cannot go to bed and not have his name. I'll tell you his name. Find his name quickly for you. Tyler Perry. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the guy that it's people like Tyler Perry who've like gone to Hollywood and built their own network and have got now a network like their own version of Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's the sort of people I want to talk to, entrepreneurs like that, people who have done it. There's no point me sitting down talking to people who've never done it or talking to people who are thinking about doing it. I'm doing it. You know, talking about having a network on Amazon. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we're at now. And then building TV, consistent TV shows, consistency of programming every Thursday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, every Monday, consistently, and getting the viewership up with that. It's exciting.
There are examples in history of groups getting together who thought a certain way. That was not the way that the governing bodies of anything actually agreed upon. So you have the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood in the 19th century, Pre-Raphaelite artists.
Yeah.
And you have the Impressionists all grouping together against a salon in Paris and creating this new form of art and stuff like this. And, you know, in what I know about my own artistic, you know, history and stuff. So this is an example that any avant-garde kind of person with changing things generally have to link with these people. So maybe that's just exactly what you're having to do.
There's nobody
aim to do it.
Nobody in my current circle that can lead me to where I need to get to now. It's about now building new circles and new tribes. Like, and that's not a disrespectful thing. It is what it is. How many people do I know around me that can say they've got their own TV network, not a YouTube channel?
I know, and it's not something you wanted. It's something that's almost like that you've learned, you know, from what you were speaking to me about. You've tried to do it this way, and you're still getting these ridiculous comments and stuff like that. So
yeah, people just don't understand, but they're not. I'm not being disrespectful, but they're not at the level for that. You understand? It's not for them. You understand? Because if it was for them, they'd be able to give me something constructive. You can't give what you don't have. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I don't feel sorry. It's just what it is. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I don't expect to be, but just if you don't like what I do, just go away. Go away. But I don't understand why people. If I don't like something, I don't go and watch it.
No, I know.
I don't like. I'm not a big fan of Love Island. I've never watched an episode of Love Island. Right? I've never watched an episode of Love Island.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan of it. It's not my kind of thing to sit down and watch that kind of stuff, right? I'm not going to sit down there and put the TV on and watch it and go, this is garbage. But these are the kind of people. These are the kind of people.
All over social media about how much you hate.
These are the kind of people on social media. I don't understand it. Or they'll say things. I'm not going to watch that fight. But the next morning, I saw on YouTube, mate. But you said you weren't going to watch the fight. No, what? Well, I wasn't going to pay to watch the fight. Well, you are still paying to watch the fight. So is your internet free?
Yeah.
Is your mobile? Is your phone? How are you paying to watch YouTube? Free? Huh? So you're still paying to watch it, don't know? Huh? I don't understand it. I don't get it.
There was some great. I think I don't think I'm wrong in trying to remember. I think Stacey McKinley and James Elvishy both picked Daniel Dubois against Joe Joyce. I don't know if that's fully accurate.
Yeah, it is accurate.
Obviously you were explaining why Joe Joyce would do it and stuff like this. And this is one example on the channel where I bet nobody actually whoever posted under those videos and told you whatever they said, I bet they didn't come back after the fight and say, you know what, Ingram, you were right.
Yeah, they came back after the Pulev fight. Now Pulev got smashed to bits. Pulev got smashed to bits. But what I don't understand is, right, you've got these commentators, David Hay and Tony Bellew, and remember when Tony Bellew turned and said that David Price is going to be heavyweight champion and adhere to the Klitschko's?
Yeah.
Right, he said that. And who was it? Who said that somebody, Ahara Davis punches as hard as Julian Jackson? You remember that? And these statements that come out, I think to myself, well, and then when Johnny Nelson said that McGregor versus Mayweather is a 50-50 fight. I mean, like,
wow.
You know, I think to myself, these people say it week in, week out. I say it and I get verified for it.
I know what you mean.
I think to myself, is it because you've got such a high opinion of me? Or is it because I don't know what it is? I don't understand it. I don't really care to understand it. And I bet you.
I think you're doing the right thing, because I think it comes back on YouTubers more than it does great boxers. Because I know My mind's failing me now, but yeah, there was a fighter who was due to fight Vitaly Klitschko was due to fight Danny Williams, and I can't remember the boxer's name at the moment. One of the greatest jabs in history.
Larry Holmes?
Yeah, Larry Holmes actually sided with Danny Williams, and he, you know, rightly or wrongly, he chose Danny Williams to win that fight. And I was reading it in the magazine, the boxing magazine at the time. And it doesn't come back on great boxers as much as it comes back on a YouTuber or somebody on media saying it.
Yeah.
They're attacked all the time. It's weird.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know. I just don't care.
Anything can happen in the sport. It's not any. There's no exact recipe. That's what these people don't realize.
Remember that night when we were building up for Stavern Wilder 2, and people got mad with me because Stavern lost. Like, I'm not fighting for Stavern. I didn't make that fight happen. I just gave you the coverage for it. You know, so
it's strange. It's really strange. And the thing is, I think people. I don't know. You know, I think some of the people are just absolutely ludicrous. But I think some other people think there is a definite blueprint, and it's not the way. Anything can happen. I mean, we don't know what happened, really. We don't know why Tyson Fury could get up from such a devastating knockdown in the first fight with Wilder to win the round or win the last part of the round, when that's never been seen before in boxing. And we don't know why Deontay Wilder was why Tyson Fury became such a power puncher all of a sudden in the heavyweight division in that second fight with him. But it's like, you can't win with people like that. It's very difficult. I don't know how to put it into words.
You know what?
I'm trying to get across.
You know what? That's what I said. I talk to people who are supporters. But you know what the thing, you know, I love the most, Judge, is being able to push that button that says members only. Oh my word. You don't know how empowering it is when I put members only. And I see people outside the door, you're not coming in, you're not a member, you're not loyal, you don't want to become a part of the journey. That's okay.
Because it means that we have got to be respectful. Any of us that want to be part of BWTM have got to be respectful of BWTM and contribute to it as well. And it's a perfect mix, I think, that.
Yeah.
I really do think that.
Yeah.
Even if somebody wants to say something that's maybe contrary to what they're hearing, at least first pay the respect. Then you can speak. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a good sign.
I love it. I love it. It makes me feel. That's one thing I love so much. You don't know, Judge. I don't know if I should really be gloating, but I do gloat.
I think it's a good thing.
There's something about it that when I push that button, it says members only. I do that. It's like.
Considering the wealth of material on the channel, it's not even a joke. You can see year after year after year, so many interviews. Even tonight, a great interview with a current female boxer. It's just incredible.
Yeah. Long may it continue, eh? Long may it continue.
I hope so, yeah.
Yes. Any final words, Judge?
Just that it's been really enlightening for me. I've learned a lot, and I'm appreciative.
Judge, I appreciate you too. And again, these late night calls that we have, more often than not, I appreciate them. And I hope people appreciate listening in onto a conversation that is unedited. And
a conversation like this that we normally have.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what's said, good or bad, as always.
Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? We put it out there. If they like it, they don't like it. Who cares? It's just me and you talking. They just happen to have they're able to listen to it. And if they've listened to 2 hours and 28 minutes, there must be something good.
Has it been that? Wow.
Yeah, it's been that. Judge, thank you for your call.
You're welcome, Ingram.
And I'll speak to you soon.
God bless you, sir.
God bless you. Take care.
Okay, bye.